Good evening, everyone. I'm Wendy Ravelli, and I am going to call to order the Select Board for Monday, March 2nd. I'll just note that 4 of the Select Board members are here this evening. Mark Howell, our chair, is out of state of attending a once-in-a-lifetime event, family event, so he can't be with us this evening. And with that, Cameron, I've asked Cameron to be clerk for this evening, so thank you, Cameron. All right, and with that, we just want to note that we have a very tight agenda tonight, and our public meeting will start promptly at 7 o'clock. As usual, we start each meeting with our public comments. This evening's public comment period is going to be limited to 10 minutes, 3 minutes each for each speaker. So if there are individuals in the audience that would like to provide public comments, please do so. Just come right up to the mic and give your name and address. Sure. And we probably only have time for 3 commenters, so just want to let you know.
Okay, I think I'm only 2 minutes, so
yeah, great.
Keep it. Sure. My name is Matan Kamon, Hawthorne Lane. I think, Paul, from your comments at the Select Board meeting, last Select Board meeting, it sounds like the board did not intend to include the IHA examples as part of the IHA adoption in the proclamation. And if that's true, at a future Select Board meeting, I hope the board can please put that in writing, perhaps as an amendment that makes it very explicit that the adoption was to adopt the definition paragraph, but not the examples themselves. I mean, it's very important to put this in writing because in just about every article written about, quote, when they say the RHI definition, they mean both the definition and the examples. And I think in the proclamation, since it said the definition, that's vague. And just to remind everyone, I know we've been talking about there's been tons of public comment about why this is so important, but I'll very briefly just say, people need to be able to speak harshly about foreign governments without the Select Board adding the label that they could be anti-Semitic. And unfortunately, 3 of the 11 examples in the IHA definition suggest exactly that label. I know the fellow from Kerem Shalom who wrote in from Jerusalem a month ago really laid that out very nicely about those 3 examples. And so, and it's our constitutional right to criticize in any way, shape, or form a foreign government, and also our own government, and some might even argue it's our moral obligation. So therefore, the town, I feel, has no business bringing into question our moral character when we do so, especially now that there seems to be another war opening up in the Middle East. So it appears the Select Board intention was correct. I hope I'm correct, to not include the IHA examples. Westford and Acton also did not include the examples in their declaration. So if that's the case, I ask that the board please put that in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, next.
Hi. I'll also be brief. Good evening, members of the Select Board. My name is Vanessa Maroney, and I'm a Carlisle resident and parent of 2 students at CCHS. I am providing the clerk with a written comment of my remarks and an essay by Kenneth Stern, and I respectfully request that both be included in tonight's record. I want to say clearly, I support efforts to combat anti-Semitism. No student should feel unsafe expressing their identity. The work of Concord Carlisle against anti-Semitism has been meaningful, and I appreciate the board's commitment to inclusion for all residents. I'm here because I have significant concerns about how this board's vote to embrace the ERA definition of anti-Semitism will interact with the systems already in place in the schools. Our schools operate a bias incident reporting system, and I support a system for reporting genuine harassment and threats, but after reviewing the district's reporting protocol and materials from this board's own bias and hate incident reporting work group, I cannot find clear answers to several critical questions. First, who determines whether a reported incident constitutes a bias incident, harassment, or a hate crime, and what criteria are they using? Will the ERA definition now serve as the standard? This matters because the ERA definition has been widely critiqued by the ACLU, the Knight First Amendment Institute, and even by Kenneth Stern, the definition's original lead author, for conflating criticism of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism. Second, what are the disciplinary consequences of a substantiated report, and what protections exist for those falsely accused? The Attorney General's guidance directs schools to address incidents even when they don't rise to the level of bullying or harassment, but neither the protocol nor published materials specify what, quote, addressing an incident actually looks like. Third, and this concerns me the most as a parent, can a bias incident report, substantiated or not, appear on a student's disciplinary record or affect college applications? These are questions with real consequences, and the current system provides no transparency on this point. Our students deserve an environment free from hatred. They also deserve classrooms where they can engage thoughtfully about international issues, including the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, without fear of being labeled anti-Semitic for expressing a political viewpoint. These goals are not in conflict, but they require precision, transparency, and robust protections for free expression. Your own consultant, Dr. Carlos Hoyt, cautioned the group against well-intentioned missteps that inadvertently reproduce the harms they're trying to prevent. I urge the board to take that counsel very seriously. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. At this time, I see a hand raised from the public. I can't see that name.
Pamela Dritt.
Is that Pamela Dritt?
I see. And
Yep.
Gail Heyer.
Pamela Dritt, can you unmute yourself? And I'll just remind us, we're trying to be...
I'm trying.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pamela. Proceed.
Pamela Dritt, 13 Concord Green. Here, here. I fully support what the previous speaker said. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. There was one other, Gail Heyer. Can't see Kristen. Gail, are you unmuted? There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Just really quickly, this is sort of a threshold question with respect to the discussion of the cell tower RFP for Rideout Park. The town purchased these 11 acres in 1911 for, from Harvey Wheeler as to maintain as a public playground, and I am wondering like why this is being proposed, if, which I believe it probably is, protected from non-playground use under Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution. So I guess I'd like to find out if that question has been proposed to town council, whether a non-playground use is permitted on that playground.
Thank you, Gail. You'll hear later on an update on the cell tower project as well.
Thanks.
And then next, I see, who's that? Jody? Yes.
Hi there, good evening. Let me lower my hand, hang on. First of all, I look forward to only talking about things like the cell
Jody,
tower.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you give us your full name and address?
My apologies, yes, my name is Jody Sperber, and I live on Old Bedford Road. I'm looking forward to the days when we're just talking about MCI and the commercial tax base, but and I missed the first speaker, and I apologize the comment, because I think I would have liked to hear that, but I'm gonna just, I just want to state some reflections of things that I've been hearing in the last few select board meetings on the topic of the proclamation, because I've listened carefully to the concerns raised about the proclamation, but to date, most objections have focused on the inclusion of IRA, and specifically, obviously, the fear that speech about Palestine is going to be curtailed. What I've not heard as much is about the lived experience of Jewish residents in Concord from those same people, or the acknowledgement of why such a proclamation might matter to neighbors who have experienced anti-Semitism locally. And I haven't heard the recognition that even if one disagrees with a component of the language, that the overall statement of values still has significance. So I thought I'd offer an example of how IRA functions as an educational tool. And that was at the start of the meeting on February 2nd, a public commenter parodied one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, repeatedly labeling others as, well, mostly the select board, as fascists. The parody included references of things like a little star and the line that Israel tells them what to do. So I assume that the commenter was expressing strong opposition to the Israeli government, and that is legitimate political speech. Criticism of Israel is definitely not anti-Semitism. But when the language shifted to suggesting that Israel tells them what to do, and them includes local residents who supported the proclamation, that's where the line is crossed. Are we Israel, or Jewish residents appear to be understood as agents of a foreign state? And so when the disagreement turns to conflation of Jews with Israel, and Israel is cast as inherently malevolent, that's where you get your tropes. So IRA helps us to name that pattern. It helps distinguish between policy and collective blame. And it's really important to note that nothing happened to that speaker. There were no repercussions, no censorship, no legal action. Comment was heard, the meeting continued, and that is the point. IRA doesn't punish speech, it just provides a framework so communities can recognize harmful patterns and discuss them openly. So you may know Dr. Seuss was an outspoken opponent of fascism and anti-Semitism. He used his platform to challenge prejudice and collective labeling. So I thought I'd close with something in the same spirit as that commenter. And just to say, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue, words matter here in Concord too. This one says fascist, loud and fast. This one forgets the recent past. This one waves a foreign blame. This one calls us all the same. Israel tells them what to do. Are them your neighbors, me or you? But from here to there and there to here, neighbors live and neighbors care. Remember Sneetch's stars and such? We had them mattered. Well, who had them mattered far too much? A little star, a line, a claim, and suddenly we're not the same.
Yeah, we're at time. Just
Yep.
if you could wrap it up, because we're at time.
Yep. When you say we take our cue from someone else not here with you, pause and ask what that implies. Pause before you generalize. Red fish, blue fish, let's be clear. Jewish families live here. The end.
Thank you. Tanya, I see you're here. We're trying to keep our public comments to 10 minutes, so if you could be extremely brief, that would be helpful.
Yes, I'll be very quick. Just in response to what Ms. Berger just said, I just want to remind that I made a comment about the same Dr. Seuss parody at your last meeting, that I also expressed my disapproval of that. But it's in very poor taste, and thank you, Jody, for breaking it down for us. However, we don't need the IRA definition to condemn such speech, to reject such speech. So that would be just anti-Semitic and unacceptable under any situation. And even though the IRA does not make any other speech illegal, it is good to not discriminate by implication against people who make more thoughtful criticisms of various political issues. So I just wanted to make that distinction, break it down that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. In the interest of time, we're going to have to move on, although I don't see any additional public comments. So we're going to move on to our consent agenda item.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Aye. So that's unanimous. Thank you. Select board appointments. Cameron? You
Yeah,
have
so I
something?
think we've got a motion here. I don't know if there's any discussion that we want to...
No, I have, no.
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion that we reappoint Carleen Hempel of 50 Highland Street to the SUASCO, Sudbury Assabet Concord River Stewardship, for a retroactive term from September 18th, 2025, and expiring May 31st, 2028. Do I have a second?
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving right along. We're going to move on to presentation. It's Richard Healy. There he is. Rich Feely. We're going to be talking about proposal, memorandum of understanding from the Housing Foundation.
Rich Feely, 347 Lexington Road. I know you're agenda is constrained, I'll be quick. There is a summary of why we're doing this and some history behind it. When the town bought Barrett's Mill Farm, the Concord Housing Foundation helped to fund some of the rehabilitation of the house. And here we are a number of years later. There are 2 units there, but one of them was essentially built in the garage, has only 1 bedroom, and one of the 2 farm families who lives there now has a 2.5-year-old child. We understand why the town could not itself undertake the construction of the addition to accommodate this child. In cooperation with the agricultural community in town, we launched a fundraising campaign. I'm pleased to say we've raised over $400,000, which is good because we thought we were only going to have to increment the septic system, and we've discovered we have to replace it as well as making it larger. But we believe we have the funds to do that. We have the plans. They were approved by the Historic District Commission last week. And now we're before you with an agreement which has been worked out with the town, modeled on the Maisie O'Donnell agreement, under which the Concord Housing Foundation will replace the septic system and build the addition at Barrett's Mill Farm. The bottom line is the town gets 2 units of family housing for farmers, and there aren't many places in town that somebody who runs a farm can afford to live, unless maybe they're a gentleman farmer. So the agreement, I believe, is before you, as is the approval from the Land Trust, which holds the conservation restriction for the septic system, and they will review for approval the plans now that they've been approved by the Historic District Commission. I have Holly Darzan of our board, who's an architect who's been involved in affordable housing in town for years, who designed the addition, and Stephen Carr of our board, who's a real lawyer, as opposed to me, who only went to law school but never took the bar exam. So if you have any questions, that's why we're here. We sure hope you're going to approve this agreement.
Great, thank you, Rich. I just want to thank you for that, for the Concord Housing Foundation's leadership and collaboration in putting this arrangement together. It's really quite wonderful to be able to support the agricultural community this way. So, thank you. Are there other comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question. I want to echo what, first of all, Wendy said. It's great to have 2 families, agricultural housing, because we know we don't have enough of that. And plus, this particular farm grows the best strawberries in the state. So
I agree.
It's an important thing to keep it going. So I do have one question, and I believe that there are some deferred maintenance that the town was supposed to be doing for this home, this building, and I'm wondering, is that part of this project? Is it? It's not. Okay.
It is not. The story behind that is the money that the farmers have been paying in rent went into a fund which would, in the normal course of events, be used to do routine maintenance, painting, siding repairs, that kind of thing.
Right.
There is now a major project because a long period of time has gone by with no maintenance, if you will, or very little. That's a separate project. It will be run by the town. We've been very fortunate in being able to coordinate with the town, particularly with Alyssa Sandoval, and we'll work it out, hopefully, so that our contractors and theirs don't trip over each other.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question. It's a great project, I really think. It's a great example of cooperation across the town. I'm very supportive. My question is more on approvals and sequencing. Are all the approvals in place? I think one of the documents said pending HDC approval.
Yes, the HDC last week approved the plans as they were drawn by Ms. Darzan, and we will proceed once we have, or you have the approval of the change under the conservation restriction. Just to be clear, there's a limit in the conservation restriction on the footprint of the house. The addition will not take us anywhere near the full 3,600 square feet, which is the maximum. But that's the last approval required. The septic system has already, as designed, been approved. It has to be built. So the next thing, once you approve this and get the letter from the land trust to approve the conservation restriction waiver, if you will be to hire a contractor and file plans with the building department.
Great.
Okay, so our approval is sort of the end game of the approval. It's not the last approval, but
It's the
important.
last, well, there's one more thing that would come before the board. I do not expect the actual construction contract to come before you. There are requirements for the town to be an additional insured on the contractors. We'll work those out with town management. But I would only expect the second conservation restriction waiver to come to you. Would be the only time this would come back to the board, until we invite you for strawberries when the addition is complete.
Okay, thank you.
So how big is the addition?
Holly?
One room.
Okay, so yeah, so relatively,
Great.
okay.
Small.
Relatively small. And it says in the document that the folks pay rent. Will their rent change as a result of the bigger place and the added room?
I assume that at least in the next, I think it's a 5-year lease,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
The next lease, it would probably be adjusted anyway. You know, the intent would be obviously that the rent would cover routine maintenance going forward.
Got it.
Great.
I
Thanks.
think that's 2029, right?
Yeah,
Right.
the
Yeah.
existing agreement that we have goes through
Yeah.
March 23, 2029.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, great. No other questions? So at this point, you're looking for us to approve the memorandum of understanding that was in our package, so.
Right, and to accept the land
Conservation.
trust's approval of the septic system as being consistent with the conservation restriction.
Okay, I thought we didn't have to approve that, but that's,
I wasn't sure, but as you know, it's in the package.
yeah, it is in the package. I wasn't sure that we needed to approve the
Sorry,
conservation.
say that again, what you're looking for? Acceptance of the land trusts?
Well, the MOU,
The land trust holds the conservation restriction on the whole Barrett's Mill farm, so they have to consent to any changes. But you're the owner, so they have to let you know that they are willing to do this. They have said, yes, it's okay to do the septic system. They will now review the plans approved by the Historic District Commission. You'll get a second letter at that point.
so we did receive the notification from the Conservation Land Trust already.
Right.
They
don't
gave a
think
letter
we-
of support, is what they gave us. So, but what you need today is the memorandum of understanding
Yes.
vote.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
just trying to
that's-
confirm. Do we
yep,
need anything other
No,
than the
no,
memorandum?
we just need the
Okay,
MOU.
all right,
Yeah,
good. Okay, so then I am going to make a motion
Yep.
then
Yep.
to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Concord Housing Foundation for home expansion and replacement of the septic system at 449 Barrett's Mill Road.
Second.
Any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
and
you very
Thank you very
much.
much,
Thank you very
again,
much.
for moving that forward. All right. So next on our agenda is an update on the West Concord cell service, and Megan is here. Hi, Megan.
Good evening. So I have a memo in the packet this evening, but I'll run through it, and happy to answer any questions. So as the board will recall, last fall, we discussed advancing a West Concord cell solution under the goal of having a project underway in fiscal year '26. Since that time, staff has continued to monitor service concerns, coordinate with our radio frequency consultant as needed, and assess potential municipal and non-municipal locations. Based on where we are today, I'm recommending that we concentrate town resources in FY '26 In my memo, I say the 2 infrastructure projects, but there's really 3 at 2 locations. The 2 projects in the center are the umbrella project with Verizon, the small cell project with AT&T, and then our tower at the landfill that will hold up to 4 carriers. So this recommendation reflects the following considerations. The project focus and delivery. So advancing these 3 active projects to completion will require sustained staff coordination, consultant report, and community communication. Concentrating on town resources on these efforts in FY26 will improve the likelihood of complete delivery of service and avoid diluting attention across multiple parallel initiatives. For technical context and community discussion, I think the board has heard, and there's been public comments in these meetings about some recent discussions highlighting difference of perspectives regarding coverage gaps, system constraints, and the range of infrastructure options available to address these service needs. Continued discussion of these issues is important to ensure that any future infrastructure investment support existing residents, commercial areas, as well as anticipated future development, including the MCI Concord site. And finally, I think when we're looking at West Concord, the business district, the carrier that is weakest there is Verizon, and we are working with Verizon at the umbrella, and there will be likely a tenant on the lease at the landfill. So moving those 2 projects forward would be a benefit in our relationship, and if we make some progress there, I think it would be safe to say that we'd have a little bit stronger position to reassess how to work together at a location that works for everyone in the community. So I wanted to bring this to you this evening because this is a goal that we have been working on, and I wanted to kind of share my recommendation and where we are regarding these other projects, and hear some feedback from the board if you're comfortable with this direction. Thank you.
Megan, I know that your team has an awful lot on their plate, so it makes sense to me that we focus on our key priorities first and foremost. If we defer some of this work in West Concord, maybe to 2027, would that entail getting more detailed information about the gaps? So, we've had many citizens giving us concerns that they don't have a problem in West Concord, at least around Rideout, but I know there are problems in West Concord, and this will give us the opportunity to then do the research and share more information with the public about those gaps so we can have a more specific recommendation.
Certainly, I think picking this up again would include additional review of the coverage gaps and further conversations with the community. But yeah, I think that's a labor-intensive effort to do it right, and I think we want to give it the attention it deserves. And so, with these other projects that are starting to require more attention, the recommendation is to kind of shift that and pick that up again next year.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. I agree that because of workload and sort of gaps, I think we should put this on a slower track. I do think there's not only gaps in the coverage information, but the alternate sites, we have to kind of look into that, and that can wait as well. I should note that we talk about the gaps in the business district, but there are also gaps around Thoreau School and Central Street. That's another gap, which I've noticed when I try to call, when I'm in grandparent pickup trying to call parents. So I think coverage does need to be looked at, along with alternate siting as well. But putting this, the urgency clearly is not as great as the focus on Concord Center. So I think slowing it down, but not for too long, because I think this information is going to take a while to gather. So we're not going to be in a position in FY27, even if we get all the information, to kind of act if we have to. So slow it down, but don't stop it, I'd say, whatever that means to you.
No, thank you. I think, and I don't know if I articulated this correctly, but no carriers really have West Concord on their radar right now. They did in the past, and it was an active site on their list, I think at least 10 years ago and maybe more recently. But with no movement, it has fallen off their radar. So I'm hopeful that with securing these, kind of infrastructure installations at these other sites in Concord will, kind of bring them back to the table to say, can we look at places that work for them, which may be, a private property location, or, other locations that are on the list to be reviewed again.
Yeah, the other fact,
I have
just very quickly, I'll
Go ahead.
continue. The gaps are very carrier-specific. Whether it's Verizon, T-Mobile, or AT&T, when somebody says they got great coverage, somebody with a different carrier doesn't. So I think that it's not just gaps from one carrier, it's sort of the whole gap situation, I call it. Thank you.
Mary?
Yeah, I have a slightly different approach here. I've been on the select board 4 years, and I remember 4 years ago, it was one of the select board's primary goals to improve cell coverage across the entire town. So it's frustrating to me to find out that 4 years later, we're still sitting here talking about it. We haven't improved cell coverage in town. So I find this very frustrating. I know it's difficult, but I do think we should keep it a priority. We can slow it down. It looks like we're talking about FY27, which to me is July of this year. So I'm not in favor of I think we should still go at this with a high priority and get some improved coverage, because again, we've been talking about this a long time.
But I think we are talking about FY27, which is close upon
July
us
of this year.
to continue, so.
Right.
Yeah, so, but it's March. Okay, so-
Why no, it
so,
doesn't mean
you know,
stop.
what we run into, and I think we need to remind ourselves this, is that we hear all the time that cell phone coverage hurts our businesses. It's a safety issue. We hear all these concerns from people that come here, and they're earnest and they're passionate and they're asking for help. And then when we put together a solution, we hear other people come and say that it's the health issues or various issues. So, I think we need to continue to concentrate on this. And I guess a few months delay is okay with me, but, I don't think we should say, let's put this on the back burner. I want to see still a full court press to get this done.
And I agree with that, but there were some real good comments and suggestions at the West Concord Advisory Committee.
Good.
So it's not quite back to the drawing board. We have some design and feasibility issues.
Good.
Right, we got to get the facts straight, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Cameron?
I guess just a context question for Megan which is how close are we to, did we pull together all the information to be able to do an RFP in West Concord? So if we pick it back up, it's kind of like ready to go?
I don't have a drafted RFP at this time.
Okay.
No, there are examples in other communities that we really kind of lean heavily on. We did have a study that was done about a couple of years ago that I've shared with the board to show the gap in coverage. We did explore some municipal properties. If you recall, the the strategy has been to look at town-owned land that we own and control so that we could act as, quickly and have the full ability to enter into a lease with a carrier. And so we looked at Rideout Park, we looked at the Harvey Wheeler, we looked at a few other locations that didn't have the coverage. What I've been hearing from the community is that they're hoping to look at other locations that were not on that short list, like the MBTA lot I mentioned. That lot, we do own a piece of that property, but we don't have full land control of that property, so there are kind of other elements that would need to be addressed to pursue that one. But
Okay.
so I guess to answer your question, I don't have an RFP
Yeah.
totally drafted at this point, but there has been some foundational work, and that could certainly be picked back up.
Okay, so yeah, just adding to, I guess, the discussion, my thought would be, okay with slowing down West Concord, but it means we gotta turn up the heat on Concord Center.
Yeah.
Right?
We
So it
gotta-
means
I think-
what can we do to accelerate?
Exactly.
Okay,
I
if we're
think
not
that-
gonna do that, what are we doing to accelerate getting it done in the Concord
Yes.
Center location?
I think that's the subtext of what,
Yeah.
not quite subtext, that's the
that's-
text of what Megan was talking about.
Right. Okay, any additional comments? No. All right, then I think we are ready to move forward to our next agenda item, which is the review of the LIP process. for the Novo 40 project, and I just saw Liz Russ enter. Great timing, Liz. I understand Stephanie Kiefer going to be presenting tonight. Oh, Stephanie, yes. So just for the audience, we have in our select board packet, we have the full application of this, the full application in hand. It's available online. Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself? And we have well, I guess we're not ready to use that, but if you can speak from that speaker, that'd be great.
Okay, very good.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Stephanie Kiefer from Smolak and Vaughan in North Andover, here on behalf of the applicant for the Novo Riverside Commons 40B development. And I was visually logged into your last meeting and heard Liz's presentation, which I think is extraordinary. It's very clear as to kind of the differences between the New England Fund subsidy program that's administered by Mass Housing and the local initiative that's administered by Housing and Livable Communities. We are here tonight to request that the Select Board endorse the Novo Riverside Commons project pursuant to and under the Local Initiative Program project. I know that the composition of this board has changed over the years, but we first actually appeared, I can't remember the month, but in 2023 when we were forming the plan and presenting it to the community about the Novo Riverside Commons project. It's a 10.2 acre site, part of the greater 300 Baker. The address for the project is 292-294 Baker Ave. We made our presentation. We also at the time submitted to Mass Housing under the New England Fund program. And basically, Mass Housing acts as the project administrator of the New England Fund. And there's a requirement that a certain amount of the construction financing has to be through a member bank of the Home Loan Bank of Boston using the New England funds. Not quite necessary for you to understand that, but just to explain how that works.
Yep.
Once the project received its project eligibility through Mass Housing, we then went and filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals, went through the full hearing process, peer review, great input from town staff as well, and in April of '24, we were approved a comprehensive permit with conditions approving the Riverside Commons, 201 multifamily. A quarter of those will be made available to affordable housing. Within that comp permit decision, we had also kind of relayed to the zoning board that we may switch subsidy programs depending on, like, once the permitting was finished, the comprehensive permitting was finished. There's a chance that we may look to change our funding source, and that was actually built into a condition of the comp permit. In any event, if you will, fast forward after the receipt of the comp permit, we needed our state permits, so we received our wetlands order of conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act from the Natural Resources Commission. And then in, I would say, late '24, I think, the original applicant, Taurus Investments, and it had created a limited dividend entity, Novo Riverside LLC, to advance the project, brought on a new equity lender or an equity investor. And through that process, kind of this outgrowth came that it made sense to have this fully funded with the equity investor. And so with that, we do not need the New England Fund money, that we can have this fully funded outside of that. And so we're coming back now to the town to request your support and your endorsement of this under the Local Initiative Project program. Basically, what that requires from you at this stage is we submitted our draft LIP application that we would be submitting to the state. It requires the board to agree to sign that application and also submit a letter of support. Earlier today, I had submitted just a draft, not to put words in your mouth, but a proposed, if you're so inclined to support this, I submitted to Kristen a proposed letter of support that you could use as reference to do that.
The benefits to the town, if you will, is I think it underscores the town's commitment to providing affordable housing. Secondly, as Liz pointed out last week, the regulatory agreement is in perpetuity, so not under the New England fund, but you have it built in perpetuity. And I think just in general, through this also, there's already been municipal support. The Affordable Housing Trust, as you may know, had provided a grant. I'm so sorry, I don't know why I'm losing my voice tonight. The Affordable Housing, pardon? Yeah. But we received wonderful support from the town through the Affordable Housing Trust, and I think it helps underscore that commitment that we've already felt from the town. And so maybe in a sense there's a way to like say that this would help, kind of further underscore that relationship. Just for a matter of process to explain to you though, this will not be the first time that we would be appearing before you. This is to request your endorsement to submit the LIP application, which then goes to the state. And then the next step, which we anticipate is going to be very short, very soon after, it would be to submit what's the final approval. And it's through that final approval process that we provide the state with, all of the final plans, the commitment that we'll do the cost certification, and any changes that we make to the Affordable Fair Housing and Marketing Plan, which we're submitting the draft of with the first application. But the town signs on to that regulatory agreement that comes out of that process as well. So we would come back to you again to share the regulatory agreement, see if you have any concerns or any questions, and then we submit the final approval back to HLC. And once they approve everything, then all the signatures get made. So for this evening's purpose, we're seeking only the first step one, the local initiative program application for the project eligibility. And so if the board is so inclined, we would be seeking two things. One, a vote for the board to authorize the chair or town manager to sign that application. And secondly, a vote to submit a letter of support to the HLC. And if there's any questions that you have, happy to answer. I also have with me two representatives from Taurus this evening, Chris Bornhurst and Tony Brannon. And I should say also just one final thing. The name of the applicant, as you probably saw, is now, it's LNG 300 Baker LLC.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's no longer Novo Riverside Commons LLC.
It'd be hard to get rid of that name. Yeah, so may I just, questions from the board
I have one.
here?
Thanks for being here tonight. I'm still a strong supporter of this project, not only because it helps us meet our SHI goal, gives us the housing we need, and as you know, we've got an MCI development happening, and I think it signals to the state as well our willingness to build housing within Concord. I've got two comments. One is there's an error on your LIP application. The split
page.
between the number of affordable versus market rate units.
Oh my gosh.
It's on the signature page.
So it's on the so there's you might want to fix that.
Right.
And then I guess my real question to you is, can you give us a good estimate of when we think you'll actually break ground?
Gotta
That is
pull the
why I
permit
brought
first.
Chris and Tony with me this evening. They're kind of the more of the on-the-ground kind of guy. So would either one of you like to field that one?
Yeah, we expect to break ground in June of this year. So we're working hard, our whole team, to be ready to put a shovel in the ground, obviously, given this LIP process, but otherwise, we're ready to go. We're very motivated to get this project started.
Thank you.
That's great. So just, can I ask one clarification? You said that you thought this application would go quick. Do we need the application and that follow-up regulatory document to be signed before building permit can actually be pulled?
So yes, before the building permit can be issued, we need to have the regulatory agreement in place. So
Right.
while the goal is June, it requires all of the pieces to kind of move quickly, just because on the municipal level, we appreciate very much the support, and and I'm also working with Elizabeth Hughes to have an all-staff meeting to review the comp permit and what needs to take place. But there's a little bit of uncertainty in terms of how quickly the state processes. And normally, I will say HLC is pretty prompt, but we also have to kind of factor in potential delays. So,
Don't take June to the bank.
Don't worry, I know
Right.
that.
So
Yeah,
just,
no,
just my understanding, and I just want to sort of try to make sure it's being clarified for folks who are listening in the audience who maybe didn't hear our scintillating conversation on this last week, right? But this is changing how the program is administered. It is not changing the approval of the project itself. It's not changing the size of the project. It's not changing the affordable components of the project. This is, just for those following along, this is a change to the program administration components, which allows you as part of that to ease some restrictions on sort of the kind of financing sources, right?
that's right, that's absolutely correct. And you know, the order of this request coming in after the comp permit has been issued is a little bit unusual, because normally when a LIP applicant comes to the town to ask for their support, the program is a little bit vaguer, you know, it's all subject to change. Here, we kind of have the benefit, right, because we came in first under one subsidy program. Again, that's a state function. But at the local review process, that's all been vetted out. It's been approved by the zoning board. It's been approved by peer review. And so now we're just coming back on the, what they call a programmatic issue, meaning the state programmatic issue. But because it's a LIP, it has the town support. But you're absolutely correct. The project as approved by the ZBA is the comp permit, and we're not changing. We're not making it smaller. We're not making it bigger. It's this 10.2 acres, 201 units.
Thanks.
Yeah, question. So I support the LIP program, but since Mary opened the door on a question on the project itself, the project has been delayed, and at the same time, we have a major Baker Avenue roadway project. And I'm just wondering, that maybe this is for Alan as well, whether anything has changed at Baker Avenue with that project, because this is going to impact that whole roadway. I know it was built, the traffic study was built into the application, but I'm just wondering if that intersection of traffic has been looked into and solved at this point.
That's somewhat of a loaded question to ask whether
Yeah.
roadway matters are solved, so.
Well, solved from the Public Works point of view. I'm looking over at Alan here, and because it's been delayed and Baker Avenue design was in play, and now it's not quite ready to go forward, but things have changed.
What I will say is this, is that when the traffic studies were completed for part of the project, they look at a horizon out, and so they talk to the town to find out what projects are being proposed. So I am pretty confident that was taken into account with the Baker Ave changes. And I think that we had input from Alan, so.
Yeah. Hey, the answer may be yes. I'm just putting it out there.
I believe it has been,
because
but I
things have
don't
changed,
want
it's been
to.
delayed, and I just
Alan
want to make
can't-
sure.
Alan,
Alan
just say it.
Cathcart, Director of Concord Public Works, speaking for our engineering division. They were tracking this project right along. There are some funds that have been established to help facilitate some of these challenges. I will say the problem has not been solved, but it is being mitigated.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Great.
Good answer.
Any additional questions, Cameron? No? Okay, so I think we understand what our vote needs to be tonight. Are we ready for a motion?
Yep. I'm going to make a motion to authorize the town manager to submit a letter of support and to sign the LIP application, which looked like from the letter it may need to be signed by both the chair and town.
I think it's either the chair or the town manager.
Alright.
So I think.
Okay, so motion to authorize the town manager and/or the select board chair to submit a letter of support and sign the LIP application.
Second.
Any further discussion? No, just a note that we need to correct
We need
that
to correct
signature
it.
page.
Yeah, we have it.
On that,
Needs
so
to be
we'll do that.
corrected.
We have a second? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we look forward to the project,
And
getting
we look
started.
forward to it as well, thank you.
Great, thank you.
That'll be good.
All right, so we are moving right along. It is 6:50. We have a few minutes for Any select board liaison reports? I know we met just
just met.
last Wednesday. I have one, but let me ask the other members of the board. Paul, no? Cameron?
I'm good.
No? Mary, any updates? Well, I have two. I just want to note that the Financial Audit Advisory Committee did meet to review the CMLP audit and the material finding that was related to timely cash reconciliations. That CMLP issue is tied to the town audit issue, so the committee will be meeting again on March 9th and making recommendations, sort of joint recommendations on addressing those issues. So that will be forthcoming. And then I just want to make one other announcement. There was something occurred last Friday. There was an award ceremony at the State House, and Carmen Gentile had nominated Michael Williams for the awards, the Black Excellence on the Hill Award. And so I just want to recognize his achievement and appreciate his leadership in the town as an elected official. So congratulations to Michael. I don't know that he's here, but it's worth mentioning. So
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah,
Is he?
yeah, and I think also another Concord citizen, Shaka Hislop, was
Oh, great.
actually given the award, sponsored through Simon.
Great.
So yeah, so just another shout out to him as well.
Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So with that, we
So,
have.
Yeah,
sorry.
Wendy, the only thing I might just add is just more general to the
Yeah.
liaison reports, but related, which is we're coming up at a time period now where there is a lot of turnover in our committees.
Yes.
So
Yep.
you'll see many committees that have people who are appointed to roles that are expiring in May. And so it's just a call out to those of you who are interested
Yep.
in town committees and town government that, this is a good time to make sure that we're all aware of things
Right.
that you might be interested in.
Yep.
And submitting those sort of application cards, letting us know what you might be interested in, because there are spots that are coming available on these different committees.
And I should actually go one step further. We've recently revalidated the current listing of openings. So if you go to the select board page, there's a left navigation list where you can see all the current openings by committee. There are some committees that definitely have at least 3, if not 4, committee members that they're looking for. So please take a look at that. And the select board's also looking at creating an opportunity for an open house where you can come and ask some committee chairs and select board members about these committees. And we can't announce that yet because we're still in the details of that, but it'll be soon, so look for that notice.
And I'll take your comment one further.
Oh, yes, go, great.
Go ahead.
Since there'll be new members, hopefully, on a lot of these committees, it's customary, not required, that a new chair and/or clerks are selected for each cycle. So the existing chairs may roll over, but I want each committee to have the opportunity to kind of rethink the leadership,
I agree.
because there'll be
Yep.
new members.
Right.
Very
And
good.
we're always asking committees to actually look at their charge as well when that's appropriate, so. We do that occasionally, yes.
That's good.
Okay, so it is not quite 7 o'clock. We have a few minutes. I don't want to start the public hearing until 7 o'clock in case there are people from the public who are going to start joining us at 7 o'clock. So I would suggest we could take a couple-minute break.
Yeah.
People need a bathroom
Do we
break.
need to
Use a quick-
close then the select board meeting?
That is a good question.
And then probably
Why don't
public
we
hearing,
vote to close
Yeah.
and then reopen for the full public hearing?
Yeah, so I'm going to make a motion that we close the select board meeting.
The regular portion of the
Yes,
select board
we'll
meeting?
Reopen, we'll make a separate motion to reopen at 7
Okay.
o'clock.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Okay.
great, thank you.
7 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes, quick break.
These were the comments.
Record, or they're just going to pick us up, I guess? Okay. All right, I trust Minuteman's going to pick up recording. All right, it is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call to order the Select Board for the purpose of our first public hearing for town meeting. And I just want to make one quick note. There are 4 members of the Select Board present. Mark Howell is not here this evening. He's out of state at a once-in-a-lifetime family event, so we'll let him, give him a break for tonight. And just as a reminder, this is the first of 5 public hearings that we're going to hold in preparation for the town meeting. Tonight, we're going to be hearing many citizen petitions. Tomorrow night is the planning board. Thursday is the Finance Committee meeting on the town and school budgets. Next Tuesday, there'll be CPC and the Minuteman Regional and a couple other articles. And then next Thursday will be the enterprise budgets. So we'll be hearing presentations for a number of articles this evening. I want to note that the presentations themselves can be found in probably 2 different places. Tonight in the Select Board's meeting package, we have all the presentations in order. But also on the town website, there is a web page for every article that is going to be on the town warrant, and you can find on that each page the article itself, the comments from the sponsors, as well as the presentations themselves. So you've got many options for getting information. And just a reminder that tonight we'll be hearing the presentations, and the goal of these presentations is for you to listen and learn about each of the sponsors' proposals. We'll be asking clarifying questions, and you'll have an opportunity to make suggestions to improve the presentation, but this is not going to be an opportunity to debate the merits of the proposal. We'll be doing that at town meeting. I will be trying to limit the comments from individuals to about 3 minutes. And for those who are participating remotely, I will ask that you use the raise hand feature when it comes time to having further questions. So with that, we're going to move right into the first article for review, and that's to ratify the Personnel Board actions. And I think Bill Murachek, yes.
Do we need a motion to open the hearing?
We can have a motion to open.
Sorry, I'm going to make the motion to open the public hearing.
Okay. All right, all in favor? All right.
Aye.
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 Thank you, Bill. And I think, Kristen, are you going to bring up presentation?
All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Moracek. I am the chair of the Personnel Board. And before I start, I want to sort of acknowledge the help and support of Jessica Porter, who's the Assistant Town Manager, HR Director, and her staff, as well as Josh Fay and Kate Ryan, who are members of the board. Article 4, ratify the Personnel Board classification actions. Mr. Moracek moves that the town take affirmative action on Article 4 as printed in the warrant, with the addition of the following actions taken subsequent to the closing of the warrant: amending the title of the geriatric health nurse to the Council on Aging and Wellness Nurse under grade 5, add utility building coordinator to grade LP6 effective February 11th, 2026, and it's planned that we will approve the new administrative services manager classification on March 11th. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, then that will not be included. The Personnel Board meets to do really a couple things. One is it works with classification actions. And this happens when we're talking about adding a job title, deleting a job title, assigning a new salary range, and also reassigning a title from one salary range to another. So it's important then that the Personnel Board has an opportunity to question, ask clarifying questions, and ensures that the job descriptions which are submitted are consistent with the necessary decorum and necessary requirements. Actions are necessary when the town manager creates a new position, the duties of an existing position change in a significant manner, and the position title needs to be updated. So why are we doing this? Well, the results of these actions, which you should go to the next slide. And then you go to the next slide. It's necessary to maintain appropriate job titles and salary ranges. And now I want to clarify, we're talking only about the non-union employees in the town of Concord. It allows the town to attract and retain competent employees, and it obviously allows us to comply with the necessary pay equity laws. So the recommendation is to take affirmative action on Article 4 as printed in the warrant and added and in the updated filing with the town clerk as presented at the town meeting to amend the classification specific roles, job titles, and salary ranges. That's essentially Article 4.
Thank you. I had one question. I saw a reference in the article itself to a miscellaneous compensation schedule. You listed positions, but did I miss something in the actual article itself that had a reference to compensation schedules? It just wasn't in your presentation.
Well, the compensation schedules really fall into the Article 5, because that's in fact where the various salary ranges are positioned. That's where we have the step plan with the corresponding salaries. So Article 4 really is only pertaining to those instances in which the Personnel Board has to determine whether or not what the classification is.
Okay, I might have misread something, so I'll look back and follow up if I need to on that. Sorry about that. Any questions from the Select Board? No? Any questions from the audience? No? This is a pretty routine article. Thank you. Looks like we're ready to move on to the next article.
Article 5. Right,
ratify
Article 5.
Yep.
Ratify the Personnel Board classification and compensation plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Maracek moves that the town take affirmative action on Article 5 as printed in the warrant with the amendment and addition of the following positions, and those are listed there. Article 5 does not cover how much money is spent on salaries. Issues and topics concerning salaries and budget really is the purview of the Finance Committee in conjunction with the town manager. The items, though, that are still subject to approval by the Personnel Board and therefore needing the approval at town meeting has to do with job titles, grouping, grades of positions, and salary ranges. What we're interested in doing is ensure that there's a uniform salary range based on job responsibilities throughout all of the non-union positions in town. We have to be concerned about equal pay for equal work, internal equity across departments, external competitiveness of salaries, and comparability with salaries of unionized employees. So in a compensation plan that we have here in the town of Concord, there's just two components. One is the classification, which is where it is determined what grade a position is going to fall within the structure. Allows for, it requires that the town Human Resources Department makes that initial assessment, presents their findings and recommendations to the Personnel Board, because we're looking to be able to have internal equity. Now, the compensation piece of the compensation plan is really looking at the external competitiveness of the salaries in the town of Concord and benchmarking those with positions in comparable communities. Now, we had in 2024, the town manager invested in hiring a consultant to do a total redo of the compensation structure. And through their efforts and survey work that they did, the town came up with taking that information and the data that was provided by the outside consultant and creating an 18-step chart within the framework of this outside consultant. And what we had heard in a study that was done by the Personnel Study Task Force several years ago was that people wanted to know, the employees wanted to know what they could expect in terms of their increases every year. So the step was a way of being able to say you move from one step to another each year, provided you have satisfactory performance. The FY 2027 request is essentially, there were no adjustments made to the town's compensation plan for FY 25 to FY 26, which would have resulted in a COLA adjustment for eligible employees. But for FY 2027, the town manager and the personnel board are recommending an adjustment to the compensation plan of 1.2%. This will provide for a minimum of 1.2% base wage adjustment for eligible non-union employees. And so why 1.2%? Well, the adjustment is based on the consumer price index for the Boston area, which is 3.2. So we have the step, each step increase is 2%. So obviously 3.2 minus 2 leaves you with 1.2% adjustment. We will have, or we have provided for town meeting a handout with the most current version of the compensation plan, which has been updated since the warrant was printed. So our recommendation is to have the personnel board recommend affirmative action on Article 5 as printed in the warrant and in the updated filing with the town clerk.
Great. Are there questions from the board?
Nope. Okay. So just to clarify, right? So there's 18 steps. If I were, and I stay in the same role, so I'm not promoted to a different role or moved to a different job, each year I would get the step, which is the 2%, and then in this upcoming year, the proposal would be, another 1.2 to sort of keep pace with inflation, right? Okay. And then if I move to a different role, I might move to a different salary and all that stuff, and then does the step sort of restart then, or is?
It depends on where one falls in the structure. The structure is minimum, midpoint, and maximum. So it's where, the step will be where the person doesn't start all the way down at the very bottom.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks.
Any other questions? No. I had one question. I noticed that there were several line worker positions that were removed. They were there last year as well, and I know that this should be non-salary. I didn't see any new roles being added. Are those just eliminated because they're union now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So it's just an oversight that it was still there. Okay. And then just before we leave, I actually just want to go back as this relates to compensation. I asked earlier under Article 4 about compensation. There's line items in the warrant, number 13 through 17. And here's just an example. It speaks to compensation, so I just want to ask to understand why it's not in Article 5. Number 13, for example, says update to public safety dispatcher, non-union, pay rate on miscellaneous compensation schedule 7-1 effective December 15th. So that's Article 4, but it appears to relate to a compensation item. That's under Article 4, not Article 5. I just want to understand what that represents. I know I'm going back to Article 4, but I want to know why it's not on Article 5 if it's compensation related.
So I'm happy to answer that.
Sure.
That is a union contract.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Carrie, I appreciate that. Thank you. And then, Bill, I don't have any other questions, so thank you. Are there any, but I don't, just want to make sure there's no questions from the audience. So yes, you can come to the microphone. State your name and your address. Thank you.
Cynthia Katz, 20 Conant Street.
Yep.
I wonder, what are the other communities that Concord benchmarks itself against?
Hi, Jessica Porter, Assistant Town Manager and HR Director. We have a list of, I believe it's 14 or 15 comp communities off the top of my head. Wayland, Acton, Andover, I believe is one, Belmont, Bedford, Wellesley, I think, is one of them, and Wayland. I'm trying to remember these off the top of my head, but it's essentially communities that have similar budgets, similar size, and then also geography plays into it somewhat as well, because obviously people might make more, but it's 2 hours from where they live. That's not really a legit comp, but somebody that could go to a neighboring town for a similar position, we want to make sure we're in line with what those towns are paying.
Is there a place I can find that list?
Yeah, it should. Jess, it should be in the class and comp plan that's online.
Okay,
I believe.
yes.
Yeah.
And certainly you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to email you the list if that's easier.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions in the audience? And I don't see anyone with their hand raised. So thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. Now we're going to move on to article number 25, and Paul Bone is going to speak to that.
Good evening. I'm Paul Baum, member of the Select Board, and I'm pleased to present, explain, and discuss Article 25 to adopt the Conservation Fund bylaw. As the slide states, I move that the town take affirmative action on Article 25 as printed in the warrant. Next slide, please. Approval of this article and the bylaw, which it references, would establish a conservation fund under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8C, which is entitled Conservation Commission Establishment Powers and Duties. I think that there's general agreement among Concordians that preservation of open space is one of our key values as citizens. The purpose of establishing a conservation fund is pretty straightforward. It's to create a dedicated, flexible funding source to support conservation and natural resource protection in our community. While MGL 40C allows for the creation of a conservation fund as part of the law that created the commission, also known as the Natural Resource Commission, the Select Board wanted to make sure that the citizens are aware and directly support of its creation and of the governance of the fund, that the governance of the fund is clear. Thus, this article. The fund would be administered by the Natural Resource Commission in accordance with the bylaw. The Commission may expend money from the fund for conservation purposes, natural resource protection, and related activities. Importantly, by virtue of having available funds in the Conservation Fund, resources would be available quickly for the purchase of land as they may become available. So what exactly is the fund used for? Next slide, please. The authorized uses include the acquisition of conservation agricultural restrictions, the preservation and management of conservation land, and necessary professional services such as appraisal, engineering, planning, and legal services. But a main focus of the fund would be for the acquisition of land. A key provision of the proposed bylaw is this latter use, the purchase of land, which would be subject to Select Board approval, as are other land purchases in Concord. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. One of the key benefits of establishing the fund is responsiveness. Conservation opportunities often arise quickly. Properties identified in the open space and recreation plan that the NRC creates or prepares may require timely action. Subject to coordination and approval requirements as specified in the bylaw, having a dedicated fund and funding in place allows the town to act strategically and efficiently rather than missing opportunities because we lack a mechanism to respond. Next slide, please. While the fund is administered by the NRC, this bylaw ensures coordination across town interests. Before utilizing the fund, the Commission must consult with the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, the town manager, and Director of Public Works. And as previously mentioned, the acquisition remains subject to Select Board approval. Importantly, this governance process included in the bylaw ensures that thoughtful consideration of housing needs, infrastructure priorities, and overall municipal planning come into play. The coordination is really important here. Next slide. In terms of financial structure, the town treasurer will serve as the custodian of the fund. Funds will be invested in accordance with Massachusetts general law. Any income generated remains within the fund, and balances may carry over from year to year. Potential funding sources may include, but are not limited to, revenues from the Community Preservation Act, but there are other funding sources as well. This article establishes the framework, a prudent financial and governance structure, so that when conservation opportunities arise, the town, through the NRC, is prepared to act. For this reasons, just presented on behalf of the Select Board, I'm asking for your support of Article 25. Two things of note. The Select Board has approved the wording of this bylaw at one of their meetings. And secondly, please note that funding of the Conservation Fund is not part of this article. However, initial funding is part of Article 26, the Community Preservation Committee appropriation, which is to be discussed at a Finance Committee hearing upcoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I know that we've had lots of discussion about this, but do any of the board members want anything further to comment on?
I have a
Mary?
question. I have a question. Thank you, Paul. I would just like to be assured that the NRC is on board with this proposed article and that they're not considering any changes or amendments on the floor of town meeting. Someone from the NRC?
Someone's got their hand raised, but that is not
Jim Smith?
Jim Smith. Is he from the NRC?
Yes.
Okay. Kristen, can we promote him? Carmen, Jim, you'll be unmuted. You need to unmute.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hi, we
Proceed.
hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
It originally said that I couldn't unmute myself. I had to be unmuted, sorry. I am Jim Smith at 14 Edmonds Road, and I'm a member of the Natural Resources Commission. The chair of the Natural Resources Commission, Sarah Grimwood, is also online, I think, tonight. We had extensive discussions with Paul, with the select board, and within our committee, and have, and support this article as it's been written.
Thank you. Great, thank you. All right.
Yeah, so a couple of questions. If we looked at page 3 of the presentation, which is the authorized uses of the fund. So I just am trying for understanding, the first 3 bullets are things that are not subject to select board approval, and only the last one?
Yes, that's how the bylaw is written. It's because they're uses of the fund that fall short of actual land purchase, which are more preservation of existing conservation and stewardship. So I think in our deliberations that...
So how is that done today? How are we... I'm assuming we do some of these things today. Where does the money come from today?
Well, there is no conservation fund today.
Right.
Correct.
I can let the Director of Natural Resources answer that question, or the town manager. It's operating funds, obviously.
I'm just trying to understand why we need a fund, so we do what we do today.
CPC.
Where does that money come from in the first three bullets?
So any funding that we would use today is coming either from a standalone warrant article or it's part of the town's annual capital plan. I've seen both in the last 10 years.
And CPC.
Right.
Okay, so if we're preserving existing conservation land, it's...
If...
Or doing sort of engineering on land, is it, that comes as a... It looks to me like things we might just...
Yeah, I think the intent here is this is a funding source for properties that may become available in the future, for things that we don't know of at this point in time or...
Yeah, so that's, I guess, was sort of my thought on it, right, is that it's a fund for acquisition of land. I guess that's why I was just sort of surprised looking at the first 3 bullets. Those almost look like sort of operational things that we probably do on an ongoing basis. So I'm just not quite sure why those would be used, would have to come from like, hey, let's go create a new thing, a new mechanism versus just what we already have, so.
When I see Delia approaching the mic.
Hi, everyone. Delia Kay, Natural Resources Director for the town. And the fund is being considered for establishment to also address preservation, other activities other than land acquisition. Some of those are currently paid for from operating, but if we need an appraisal, right now we can request funding from the land fund that doesn't have a lot of funds available to it, due diligence like a phase 1. This fund would allow us more ability to act without going into other funds.
Got it. Okay. And then on page 5, it says prior to utilization of the fund, there'll be consultation with, I'm surprised, why do we need to consult with the Housing Trust before we use the conservation funds?
I think
And again,
that-
going back to the first point, are you gonna consult with them because you want to do an appraisal on a piece of
No,
property?
so that's actually already established, and it was a town meeting action that requires any land acquisition that the NRC considers, that there's consultation with housing advocates, and so that has been standard practice, as has consultation with the town manager on any acquisition. So that, I believe, is just, the intent is just to formalize that.
Okay. So like there's a conversation with the Housing Trust, but not conversation with like economic vitality or something like that around like.
No, we're talking
anything
about
like-
land here that comes available for purchase, and it could have multiple uses. So as part of the coordination process, that's how I would phrase it.
Yeah, I get it. I'm pointing out we're focused on one item, affordable housing. There might be other uses of the land as well.
It's also Public Works.
Yeah.
I see your point, though.
Yeah, I'm just
no, it's a
making
good
comment.
point.
That's all.
We
Okay.
could add another committee to consult with.
But I'm also just, I mean, specifically, like, you want to consult with that over the land acquisitions, but I actually don't think you need to consult with them over those other bullets on page 3.
Planning, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so I
Yeah,
just.
good
Yes,
point. Yeah.
with land acquisitions,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
No, good point.
Okay, all right, I
All
think I've said enough.
Done. All right,
Okay.
Carmen.
Good evening. Let's see, is this on?
Should be, I'm sure.
Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
Carmen Reese, 52 Devon Street, Town Moderator. I want to note that it is my understanding that the town cannot acquire or alienate title to land without a 2/3 vote of town meeting. So I don't think that the representation that this fund could be used to acquire property with the approval of the select board is correct, and you may wish to check that with town council.
Wow.
All right. we'll just
I could just
follow up on
add,
that.
I could just add that this bylaw was drafted by outside counsel.
It was, yes. Okay. Do I see any, I do not see any hands raised online. No additional comments here in the room. So I think we're ready to move on to the next article. All right, hopefully this will be quick. So moving on to the Select Board to accept easements, and I think that's Alan Cathcart. Oh, did I miss?
27?
Oh, sorry, I missed
Yeah.
one. Sorry, Alan.
This is,
27.
door-to-door.
Amendment of solicitation bylaw. So that's Carrie or?
Yes.
Yep.
It's carried.
Yes,
With the
thank
chief?
you.
Yep, sorry.
Carrie LaFleur, Town Manager. All right. Good evening. Article 27 proposes to amend the town's existing soliciting bylaw by deleting the current bylaw in its entirety and replacing it with a revised door-to-door solicitation and sales bylaw as printed in the warrant. While this is presented as an amendment, it is effectively a full replacement. The current bylaw was originally adopted in 1977 and later updated in 2006. Given the significant evolution in constitutional case law and Attorney General guidance since that time, Town Council has recommended that a comprehensive rewrite rather than piecemeal edits is the most transparent and legally sound approach. I'm going to stick with this slide, Kristen. This proposed amendment is intended to accomplish 4 things. First, to update and clarify the bylaw language so that it aligns with established case law, including Massachusetts Fair Share, Inc. versus Town of Rockland, and guidance from the Attorney General's Municipal Law Unit. Second, to establish a clearly defined licensing process. Third, to formalize objective review and approval criteria, avoiding discretionary or open-ended decision-making. And fourth, to clarify enforcement authority and procedures while preserving statutory exemptions required under state and federal law. The Attorney General has previously disapproved municipal solicitation bylaws where they lacked clear timelines, objective standards, or adequate procedural safeguards. The proposed bylaw addresses those concerns directly. The intent here is to balance protecting residents from fraud and nuisance activity while respecting constitutional protections. Next slide, please. Under the proposed bylaw, each solicitor must obtain an individual license by completing a written application and paying an application fee, and also to provide business and vehicle information. Applications must be submitted within 10 business days of the requested start date to ensure that requirements have been met. Next slide. One of the most significant improvements being presented is a requirement that the chief of police or their designee review each application in accordance with the clearly articulated standards. A license may be denied for incomplete or false information. Disqualification is limited to specific criminal convictions within the past 7 years, an objective and time-bound standard. Any denial may be appealed to the Select Board. By establishing defined criteria and an appeal process, the town avoids the constitutional concern of unlimited discretion and ensures due process protection. Next slide, please. The proposed bylaw also establishes clear operating standards, including that licenses are effective for up to 90 days. Solicitors must wear an identifying badge while operating. Solicitation is permitted between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Violations may result in revocation, and the bylaw establishes a $50 fine per offense. These provisions provide clarity, proportional enforcement, and predictability. Next slide. In summary, Article 27 deletes the existing bylaw originally adopted in 1977 and updated in 2006 and replaces it in its entirety with a modernized, constitutionally grounded door-to-door solicitation and sales bylaw. For these reasons, we recommend approval of Article 27 as printed in the warrant. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. It's definitely a very well-structured procedure with very clear roles and responsibilities, so thank you for putting this together. Are there members of the board have questions on this?
Nope, I'm good.
Proposal? No?
Just
Carrie,
one
go
question,
ahead.
just says disqualification for specified criminal convictions. So we reviewed that to make sure we're legally on good standing in terms of what we decide to do or not do on that?
Yes, this is a bylaw amendment that was put together in consultation with town council.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
And Carrie, have we had many nuisances with solicitation?
We have not. What we have seen recently are people pushing back who want to do door-to-door sales and are pushing back because our existing bylaw is too restrictive. And that was the impetus for looking at this and working with town council to come up with something that was in line with, again, with case law and guidance from the AG's office.
That's great, great. And I appreciate the requirement to carry sort of a badge or some kind of certificate from the police department. I think that will help if this goes forward.
On the permission, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., this is 7 days a week, any day, any holiday? There's no restrictions on that?
Yes, it's 7 days a week, 365, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., with a valid license.
Okay.
Okay, I think we'll take questions from the audience. Stefan.
Thank you, Stefan Bader, 7 River Street. 2 questions, or 1 question and 1 point. It mentions that the fine is $50 per day. I've heard people say they think it's $50 per house you knocked on. So if you hit 3 houses on one street, you get a $150 fine, but that's not how I read it. Am I reading it correctly, or?
That's correct. The proposed fine is $50 per day.
Per day, regardless of how many houses you got to before you were, the police
That's
caught up with
correct.
you. Thank you. And the other thing, I just want to clarify that this in no way affects political canvassing. And so we'll still be able to knock on doors and ask people to vote for our favorite representative or select board or president for that matter.
That is correct. This applies to door-to-door sales.
Sales only?
Yes.
Not charitable or political solicitation, contributions?
Nonprofits are excluded, correct?
Okay, I see Captain Goldman.
Oh.
Maybe just if you could, Captain Brian Goldman from the Concord Police Department.
Thank you, Brian Goldman, Captain, Concord Police Department. Nonprofits are excluded, religious organizations. This is strictly for door-to-door sales. Those vendors that come out, say, selling solar panels that go door-to-door, they are the ones that we want to see be properly permitted and vetted when they come to town.
Great.
Yeah, I think on that topic, it might be helpful to include a slide on exclusions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, because the question will come up.
It will, yeah.
Yep, no,
that's a good
that's
point.
helpful.
If it comes up.
Thank
Okay, and I do see a hand raised from
Daniel Stapleton.
Daniel Stapleton. Thank you. Daniel, you'll need to unmute yourself to make your
Yes, I've
comment.
unmuted myself. I can't quite figure out how to turn my camera on, but
That's okay.
this is Dan Stapleton from 20 Conant Street. Just a quick question. One of the slides showed a no solicitation sign in the lower left-hand corner. Does that mean that as a property owner, can I put a no solicitation sign out and that would prohibit anybody doing solicitation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Some additional comments there, maybe?
Let's see.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Confirmation.
All right, it's official. All right, I am not seeing any additional hands raised, no more comments in the room, so we will move on to our next article. Now, Alan, you can, he's coming. Moving on to the Select Board accepting easements.
Good evening, Alan Cathcart, Director of Concord Public Works. As Wendy mentioned, this is a fairly simple housekeeping article. You can sort of read from the slide and take a look at the actual warrant itself. This allows us, if you just go to the next slide, Kristen, the Select Board to accept easements at no cost to the town. It's done primarily, we work with a lot of developers, homeowners as we're doing construction, and we may need temporary easements or we may need permanent easements. Some examples we've had just recently, some sidewalk easements that have been established. There was the most recent Saddle Road and Harness Lane 80X Main Street. It's a development that occurred where water infrastructure was installed. It's privately owned, provides the town access to operate, inspect, and do emergency repair if necessary. The light plant has used it if they occasionally may need to put some utility or infrastructure on private property. So, you know, with that said, it's sort of we've adopted this just a few years ago to put it on an annual basis so that we didn't have to delay some of the projects and interfere with a lot of times the construction schedule for the town's interest or the private developer's interest if they need to sell the property and they need to have these instruments in place. So in essence, I'm willing to take any questions, but that's basically the intent.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a simple question. How's this different than how we do it now?
It is how we do it on an annual basis.
So this is just
Exactly.
renewing what we
It's
do?
a routine.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Okay.
no different.
Okay.
Right.
No different.
Same,
Okay.
status quo.
Got it.
All right. I see no questions from remote participants and no questions from the room, so we're ready to move on to the next article.
Thank you.
Article
Thank you.
30, the solar rooftop bylaw. I see Dean Banfield coming to the floor.
Got to see where
You're up.
Let's see where I'm looking to see my slides, where we are. I'm Dean Banfield, 73 Walden Terrace. Tonight, I've got my petition town meeting hat on during this season. So I'm just going to try to summarize. It says that I'm going to anticipate moving this article as printed in the warrant. I'm not moving anything tonight. I'm just anticipating this is how it's going to go. To summarize the elevator pitch for this, very briefly, if the town builds a new building, it will come with solar. That's it. That's what we're trying to get done. So right now, we have a problem over at the middle school where we created two completely distinct projects, one to build a building and the other to come back later and install solar. That has not gone completely brilliantly, so that's why we need a process to ensure that as we build new buildings, they include a solar component. So if I can go to the next slide, please. These have been our goals and the way we've approached solar over the past many years, all the way back to 2010. Our goals have shifted a little bit downward over time as we've kind of gotten better clarity on what's possible. We've moved from a 25 megawatt goal down to 20 in our current climate action plan, and we just completed in 2024 a solar task force report that identified within the land that the town currently owns, we could get to 14. We have not suggested that we back off of that 20 megawatt goal because there are things on the horizon where solar may still be possible, such as MCI or 2229 Main Street. So there are things that we do not own that could still play into 20 megawatts of power. But if we look at what's possible on the current land, 14 megawatts. Can we go to the next slide, please? So here we have a history of the progress we've made so far. We were making fairly decent progress all the way through 2017, and then we sort of stalled. No further progress is made after that, and we have now proposed that we get 1.2 megawatts on the landfill. But as you can see, this year we expect to go back over one of the properties that we put 1.7 on, and that was the landfill, and we're going to replace all the panels that are 10 years old there, and then add about another third, so we'll add another 2.5 megawatts to a 1.7 megawatt area. So that's really a big improvement. So those are our efforts to date, but we have pretty much exhausted what we can do on land-based without a lot of work and convincing various elements of the community that we should repurpose specific land for the purpose of solar. We're kind of tapped out in terms of land-based solar. So can we go to the next slide, please? So our findings were that we don't really, as I kind of got ahead of myself, there's no more unused ground mount potential really available. The other piece that we found in the solar task force was that the things we are trying to do is get dual use out of areas of the community that are already impervious surface, they're disturbed, they're brownfields, they're whatever. We're trying to get another use out of those things. And canopies and rooftops are considered dual use. You might have a parking lot, you could put a canopy. You might have a rooftop, you put some solar. So it's called a dual use. We found that canopies are too expensive for us to make work financially. They're just not possible. You have to build what amounts to an entire building underneath just to put the solar panel on. So those tend not to be economically viable for the light plant to put up. When if a light plant were to try to put solar panels on an existing building and then have the light plant manage it, it becomes overly complicated. The light plant is managing some panels on top of the roof that's managed by another entity, maybe a school, maybe the town, and you have these competing responsibilities. Who's responsible for making sure the roof is sound? Who's responsible for making, getting up on the roof and changing out elements if the solar panels aren't behaving correctly? So it's a very complex thing to come back to a roof and have the light plant put solar panels on, like we're doing, and we're seeing the complexity at the middle school right now. So what we did find in the solar task force is that if we install solar on a building and the electricity flows into the building and it's all managed by one entity, either it's the school or the town, it's a unified management process, and the electricity flows into the building. It reduces operating costs and it makes economic sense. So the report identifies solar as, on new public buildings as the only remaining opportunity in the town. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. Why are we doing solar at all? We're doing solar basically because we are using solar. All the electricity that we consume here in Concord today is non-emitted. That means we're buying wind, we're buying solar energy, and we're buying nuclear from outside the borders of our town. So this is an equity issue. We should put some up for ourselves because we're using it. Why should a farm field in the Berkshires be covered over with solar panels so that we can enjoy telling everybody we're using, non-emitting non-emitting electricity? It's a little bit of an equity issue. Local renewables also ease the stress on the grid. If we were to buy solar energy from a farm field in the Berkshires, we would have to pull that across the grid, which places stress on the grid to get it to us. If we're doing it locally and distributing it within the CMLP's infrastructure, it reduces external stress on the New England grid, and we hear that in the news all the time, that we need to build all these transmission lines and that the greater grid is being overly taxed. There's a lot of reasons for that, but basically that we can reduce that. And it's aligned with all of our goals. It's aligned with our goals in the Climate Action Plan. It reduces the footprint on existing infrastructure for energy. So it's a win-win-win-win all the way around. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. So what does this mean? It gives clear guidance as we stand up new building committees and we're building new buildings and they're evaluating planning and architectural options. It just gives them clear guidance. It will come with solar. You will install solar. You'll move the infrastructure on the roof of a building. Maybe it's an air handler or an air conditioning unit, a heat pump that you have to install on the roof anyway. Put that somewhere so that you can optimize the use of the roof for solar. So it gives you some integrated design, unified bids. It's a subcontract that ends up becoming part of the first and initial bidding process, and it's all included. There's one entity responsible for maintenance, and this is the thing I pointed out before. Right now, when we do it at the middle school, you're going to have the school committee responsible for the maintenance of the building, and 10, 15, 20 years down the road, if that roof has issues, they're responsible to make sure that those leaks or whatever might happen are taken care of. But the thing sitting on top of the roof is managed by CMLP. They may have to move the panels, they may have to get them out of the way so that maintenance can be done. It's two different entities. This will mean that a single entity is taking care of everything. When something's happening, they're managing the whole process because they're responsible for the whole building and the solar. The payback period used to be about 2 to 5 years for this sort of thing, but the IRA has somehow been gutted, so now that number has moved up to about 6 to 8 years. So when there's no subsidy, the current thinking is it's about 6 to 8 years. Putting solar on the middle school in this mode adds about 1 to 1.5%. So we have a $100 million, $105 million middle school. This array would cost about $1.2 million to outfit the middle school roof with what's being put up there today. So it's about a 1 to 1.2 to 1.5. Let's move to the bylaw language. It's really simple. It just says, this is what we're doing. It goes on all new town buildings. It provides a lower limit and an exemption process. So if the number of panels that would be required to hit the lower limit that kind of kicks it into gear is about 16 panels, 2 rows of 8, which is a good-sized house array would be about that size. So if it gets up to that level and the roof can support that, we'll be including solar. So there is a lower limit, and if there's a reason to exempt a building for whatever reason, it can be appealed to the select board. So you're building a building that has a very minimal amount of electricity in it, but it's kind of uninhabited. You're building a new salt shed at Concord Public Works. You probably would ask for an exemption. You don't want to have to reinforce the roof, put all that electricity up there, and then not use any of it, or just turn on a light bulb once in a while. So there's an exemption process and waiver that the select board can issue if they are appealed to. So I think that's pretty much it. Next slide. Yeah, we're done.
Okay, great, Dean. And I'll just note, I know you gave this presentation to the Climate Action Committee, and they've unanimously supported the article. I also will just note that the Public Works Commission sent the Select Board a note today suggesting that they will be discussing this article
They've
and the
invited me in, and I'm
implications
on their
for
next agenda.
March 11th for those who are interested. So more to follow there. So I'll just, Paul, I have a question.
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
The language in the slides here, it says recommendations and guidance, but this is really requirement. This is the
This is a requirement.
requirement. So I suggest you modify those
let's see.
to make it a little firmer rather than suggested.
Well, the recommendations, the term recommendations was recommendations that came out of the Solar Task Force report. So that's what the word recommendations means there, I believe.
But the bylaw makes it a requirement.
The
for
bylaw
for
makes it a
building.
requirement.
Thank you.
That's
So, and the costs, you said 1 to 1.5% relate to the schools. Is that a typical upcharge for a capital cost of a new building? I'm just wondering.
It's going to be hard to tell based on an inhabited building with probably office infrastructure or human beings in it, or what, however that would be laid out in terms of a floor plan, et cetera. That's probably fairly accurate. If you're building garages or very big, vast open spaces that are just covered with a roof, then it would probably be a higher number, because the amount of cost to build a very basic, empty garage for a CPW is very low, and the amount of roof area may be decently high. So that percentage number would go up in that case. But this is just basically for inhabited buildings with a floor plan that contains people.
Yeah, so another suggestion, you might want to give a range rather than what.
Sure.
Try to make it as general as possible.
Yep.
And so we're talking about new construction, not renovations.
Yes.
Correct?
Strictly new construction. We build a new building. Solar is part of the bidding process. We do it right away. Yep.
And I'm just wondering, Dean, with the land use working group dealing with lots of different parcels around town, why, it sounds like you're giving up on land, on in-ground solar.
Well, the opportunity at 2229 is real. That's a brownfield, and there have been a lot of suggestions for how it could be used. As a solar advocate, I would love to see solar go over there, and every time I mention other uses over there, people, I don't think I want to do that over there, I don't think I want to do that over there, because it is a remediated site. So solar would be, just like the W.R. Grace property, which is a remediated brownfield, that might be a good use. But that's off as far as the presentation I just gave, 2229 was not included in the 14 megawatts that we think we can get to, or that we might be able to get to, because it's not ours yet, so I couldn't really add that.
So when I think about new building, I mean, practical reality about what new structures might go up, police and fire.
Yep.
Are sort of, and I would assume those would be exempt, because what's on the rooftop of police and fire are lots of, well, let me ask you, it's an open-ended question. Would those be a typical exempted structure?
I don't see a reason to exempt them if whatever the infrastructure they need on the roof kind of completely takes over the roof. Obviously, there's no place to put solar. So you say, okay, we have to give up. They have radio towers, or they have this or that on the roof, and you're using up all the roof. But otherwise, I don't see a reason inherently to exempt those buildings.
Okay. Last correction, just for the record, 2229 is not a brownfield site.
Okay, all right.
Brownfield sites are, no, it's important. It's a site that's going to be cleaned up. It's not left for industrial.
Cleaning it to residential standard.
It's not a brownfield site.
Okay.
It's a former Superfund site. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
I have a question, Dean. Thank you for the presentation. What about affordable housing? If the town were to build affordable housing?
If the town were to build affordable housing,
Yes.
I think that
Would that be
fall under this, and you would need to go to the select board and
for an
say,
exemption?
it makes the affordable housing too expensive for us to construct, please.
So it's not going to be exempted in the bylaw? It would have to come to the select board?
They would have to come to the select board. Yep, it's not exempted in the bylaw. There is an option for them to appeal, and that would be, that appeal would probably be on the basis of cost. Literally, like, this just pushes the capital need farther than we are comfortable going, That's probably the only basis on which that exemption would be requested.
So follow-up question, have you written any criteria that the select board would use to grant an exemption?
I've left it open-ended, and that's kind of on purpose. The applicant can make their best case. I think that's reasonable.
And then, Dean, just to clarify, there is a minimum size that you put in
There's
this
a minimum
article.
size, like if the roof can't support
Right.
7.5 kilowatts,
Yeah.
then, okay, that's a smallish building, and,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it can't, like, yeah. So if we were to tear down and rebuild the little cape on Everett Street, that building would probably not be able to hold 7.5.
Right.
It's unlikely we'll do that, but, you know, that's an example. Of course.
All right.
So, yeah, I have a couple of questions, if it's all right. Don't we have something in the town already that says we can't, for a new building, put in gas?
Yes, the fossil fuel-free bylaw, but this is solar.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep,
just
you're right.
pointing out that there's already
An existing, yeah.
There's already an existing
There's a
thing
bylaw,
that
yep.
says if you build a new building, you can't put gas in, right?
Can't put gas. I don't
Right.
know how that relates, Cameron.
You don't know how it relates? Oh.
Well,
Okay.
I don't, actually.
Okay.
It's a separate track. I mean, it's gas.
It's a precedent
Yes.
on
So that means
restriction
you
to
use
building,
electric.
that's all, yeah.
Okay.
You can still
All
put
right.
heat pumps.
You can still put heat pumps, you can
Yeah.
still put other things in that are clean energy
Right.
types of
Yeah.
sources.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just asking for the record. And we buy 100% of our energy today, right? I think you pointed out that's clean energy that comes,
100%
100%.
of our electricity
Yep.
is non-emitting.
right, okay. And then so this bylaw would say if a project's, like if a solar project is not economically viable, doesn't matter. If there's other new technologies that might be better alternatives, doesn't matter, right?
The
It would
bylaw
we would
is-
be required by law.
The bylaw is
put in
effectively
solar.
self-extinguishing. If we get to a point where there is an obvious alternative and better choice than putting solar, the select board can just issue them almost pro forma, they can issue exemptions. So
Yeah, that's true, but you're creating excess I mean,
I'm
the
creating regulation.
alternative here is that today, we can approve any new building that has an attractive solar project on it.
Okay,
right?
so let me put it a different way then, Cameron. This creates a negative checkoff system. The program will have solar unless the town or the select board assert that we're not going to have solar. Your suggestion is that we have to proactively, every time we build a building, go through this debate about whether we're putting solar. So let's go about that debate for this bylaw, call it a day, and now it's on the books. And then we can have those debates if you want to have them about taking it off each time we build a building. That's fine.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, no more questions. Anyone from I don't see any question. Oh, someone is approaching the mic.
We're waiting in the wings. Carlin Reed, 83 Whitsand. Question about this exemption process. I'm looking at the text of the bylaw. It says exceptions to this bylaw may be granted by the Town of Concord Select Board. Now, do I understand that there's no specified process for the exemption and that it can change based on what the Select Board chooses to do per application? That it's just wide open?
Yes.
That's the implication, that there are no set criteria under which an appeal may be made for an exemption. I cannot anticipate all the possible range of reasons. It could be economic, it could be structural, it could be it's shaded by beautiful oak trees and it doesn't make any sense. We'd have to cut down these beautiful. There's a number of ways in which somebody might have to make an appeal to say, in this particular location, for this particular site, this is not reasonable, and the select board can debate that. I don't know any other way to, anticipate all the possible reasons why people may want to seek an exemption.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Sven?
Sven Weber, 50 Bellner, talking on my own behalf. So I have two questions. Question one, this is a bylaw, but we also have APP 60, which talks about the town sustainability rules. So why aren't we doing this in the APP, which in the end can be easily modified? The select board can choose on their own to define the processes about what needs to be done when they make exceptions and so on. There might be unintended consequences. So why a bylaw that is only changeable with a town meeting and not putting this into APP 60? That's my question one.
So the answer to that question, in 2024, the Solar Task Force delivered its report. I've gently nudged at the select board to try to take action on this, and there's been no progress, and so I am requesting that town meeting take its own action. That's why I went down this road.
Okay, so did you ask the select board to include this kind of policy in the APP 60, and it said no?
I did not.
Okay.
I made individual outreach to members requesting that we kind of get this going, and no action has been taken. So this is something that the town meeting can vote to do. The town meeting could vote to urge them to do it, but I decided to go in this direction and have the town just take action.
Second question is behind the meter. So it's a very oddly specific thing for a bylaw because, again, this can't be changed. So all the major buildings that are most likely to come up in the next 15 years are all town-owned buildings.
Correct.
I understand your example with the school, where you have a school is a separate, say, school district is separately managed from the town. But now we have town buildings coming.
Right.
So if it's behind the meter, does that now mean that Public Works need to build their own solar management capabilities, whereas the town already has solar management capabilities as CMLPs? Are we starting to doubling resources on two town departments?
I don't believe so. If you're a homeowner and you put solar panels on your home, you're now managing your solar, okay? And that electricity flows directly into your home and it reduces your electric bill. If we put solar panels on a new public safety building, that electricity will flow directly into that building and reduce the operational budget for that building. If the building doesn't consume all of the electricity being generated on a hot summer day, it may have its air conditioning going, it still may not consume all of the electricity being generated. It will flow back out onto, and CMLP can then resell it to another customer.
Yeah, but the new example you said is that it is so complicated that it needs to be managed, maintained, and you don't want to have two entities going on the roof. Like you said, it's the school has the building, and synchronizing with the CMLP is complicated. Now we repeat the same because the buildings are under CPW, the facility sits there. Now CPW needs, why is it now super easy if it's town building?
To be frank, CMLP does not manage solar, okay? They have PPAs, a power purchase agreement for the landfill. They have a power purchase agreement for WR Grace, and they don't manage any other solar. They have a power purchase agreement on a small commercial building on Virginia Road, but they aren't managing any of that. They've outsourced that. So to say that CMLP has a specific skill set is actually not true. So homeowners don't have that skill set. They usually call somebody and say, I need my solar panels installed, and that person installs them, and if there are maintenance issues, they call that same contractor and call them back in and have them maintain it. I guess
So
I'm not clear here.
We need a second a maintenance contract then. Because CMLP is not responsible for the solar on it.
Yeah.
But facilities then is.
Right.
So CMLP has right now maintenance contracts for the existing solars they own, and we then need separate from Public Works another maintenance contract with the company I'm just thinking the double.
I know, I don't see.
My proposal would be to leave it up to the project, what makes sense.
Okay, all right.
And just this oddly specific behind the meter, leave it to whatever project needs to be done there.
I'll just agree to disagree on that one, Sven.
Charlie Parker, 105 Chestnut Street. I just wanted to make a comment on the APP question. I probably shouldn't be up here doing this, but I was on the committee, so I'll just make a quick comment. The APP is something that goes, is a book that sits in the select board's office or somewhere, you know, in this building. And it's, you know, it's something that you don't necessarily have to pay a whole lot of attention to, although you may. And I think what we considered was the need to get this in front of the town and have the town itself as a whole at town meeting review this and get behind it. And if the town is highly supportive of it, then that makes it easier to institutionalize this as a proposal and as a strategy and as a requirement. If it's just an APP, it's far less significant. And this is a kind of a major questions issue. So that's why, you know, we wanted to put it before you.
Okay.
There was a point in time, I know last year, when we were looking at the closure of the prison, that the town was actually, the risk was pretty significant, actually, that we were generating too much solar.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was creating
That's right.
instability on the grid.
That's right.
So,
Right.
To answer that question, the bylaw contains a clause that says, consistent with CMLP hookup, you know, requirements. CMLP is working on interoperable hookup agreements that will allow CMLP to potentially tail off any solar coming in from a given resource in the event that there's too much solar flowing. So it does provide for a requirement that CMLP's requirements for interconnect are met, and CMLP is working on those interconnect agreements even as we speak. So I think that CMLP is very well aware of what they need to do to protect their network, but in the past it has been a huge source of friction to trying to get new solar resources added in various locations because CMLP did not have good interconnect agreements that would restrict or otherwise contain the possible overflow of solar. And they're working on making sure that those interconnect agreements are a little bit more solid for that purpose. So that just, hopefully that answers that question.
Okay. Paul?
One more question. I'm not advocating for this, but did you consider all new buildings as opposed to just town new buildings?
Did not consider all new buildings because there is at least one town in Massachusetts that has that requirement. It is a major undertaking to construct a bylaw that takes into account all of the puts and takes with requiring private homeowners to do that. I could talk to you offline about that, Paul. I've reviewed that. It was not something that we were interested in.
Well, I wasn't thinking homeowners. I was thinking commercial buildings. But
Commercial buildings, exactly.
I would not advocate. That would be a significant.
Yeah. So it was just not something. It was to get the town to like live up to its own solar goals. Okay. Is really what we're trying to do. Yep.
So,
all right.
I'm sorry. In that sense, is it? I passed. No.
Passing. Save the debate for town meeting.
I'll just save it, period.
All right, I do not see any more questions in the main room here, and I do not see anyone online, so I think we're ready to move on to our next article. Thank you, Dean. Move on to article number 31, the Revolutionary War Monument, and Henry Dane. I don't know if you're presenting or there are others presenting. Sorry. Oh,
did you want to begin by talking?
Oh, wait, you know what? Yes, actually, no, I'm going to do it after the presentation.
Okay.
Introduce me. I've never done this. I'm really excited so many people are still here this late, by the way. So introduce myself.
Yes. Yes,
Hi,
sorry.
Beth Van Duzer.
Yeah.
I'm part of the 250 Corporation, and I actually have not seen the article that we are supposed to read because it was reworded, I was told. So is that
I
just
think
what
it's
I'm
on the
supposed
next
to read?
page.
It's,
Okay, so Mr. Dane,
This one.
oh, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. To authorize the Concord 250 Corporation to design, finance, and build a suitable memorial recognizing the residents of Concord who died in the Revolutionary War on parcel 1693, subject to any necessary approvals or permits from the Historic District Commission or Planning Board, or take any other action relative thereto. And the next slide. Okay. So the first war memorial created to honor Concord soldiers who died in wartime was the Civil War Soldiers Monument. It was dedicated on April 19th, 1867 in Court Square. The plaque has been recast multiple times to add omitted names, most recently in 2024, adding the name of Private George Washington Dugan, the only Black Concordian known to have served in the Civil War in the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Regiment. Next slide. In 1889, the town renamed Court Square Monument Square in recognition of the Civil War Soldiers Monument being in the center of it all. For 159 years, Monument Square has served as the primary setting for Concord's war memorials, honoring generations of people who died in service to their country. The Spanish-American War Memorial was the second memorial placed in Monument Square and stands across from the Colonial Inn. At the other end is the large memorial that pays tribute to those who lost their lives in World War I. Memorials to those who died in the later 20th and 21st century wars, World War II, the Korean War, the Dominican Civil War, the Vietnam War, and the Iraq War are grouped together and unified within a brick-paved pocket park within Monument Square. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I purposely said earlier that the memorials in Monument Square honor generations of people who died in their service to their country instead of Concordians, because we have memorials to some people who fought for another country. I assume everyone here is familiar with memorials in Concord that respectfully pay tribute to the British soldiers who were fatally wounded on April 19th. One is just steps away from Monument Square across from the Colonial Inn. The memorials for the British are situated near where they died, far from their homeland. So to recap, currently there is a memorial to a British soldier within a stone's throw of Monument Square, as well as 8 war memorials in Monument Square, one for every war in which Concordians died, except one, the American Revolution. So why has this never happened? Because until recently, we only had the name of one person who was recognized as a veteran for the Revolutionary War who died during his service, and whose name was read annually on Memorial Day, and that was Reverend William Emerson. Next slide, please. So in the last few years, on behalf of the Concord 250 History and Education Subcommittee, I've discovered primary source documentation that confirms the names of 21 additional men who had a birthplace, home, or grave in Concord, or had their service credited to the town of Concord, who died during their service in the 8 years the American Revolution lasted. Among those who died in the Revolution are Sergeant John Corneal, who as a teenager was indentured here in Concord. He participated in the Battle at the North Bridge on April 19th, 1775, and according to a primary source shared with me by Eric Schnitzer, a park ranger and military historian at Saratoga National Historical Park, he was later killed in action on October 8th, 1777, in a reconnoitering operation. So I was able to share the information I collected on Corneal with Saratoga, and they are using this information to make a more complete history for him, and they are going to share it, and they have a 250th coming up, so watch their page. Everyone's going to have a 250th. We also have 3 black soldiers whom we refer to as patriots of color on the list, who paid the ultimate sacrifice to create a new nation. First, there's Titus Haywood, who was enslaved here in Concord. He apparently gained his freedom somewhere around the 1760s, and he signed up to fight as a free man. He died in a hospital in Albany, New York, most likely from disease, on November 5th, 1777. Second, we have Samson Yarney, who was born free, and his hometown was Medford. He enlisted for Medford, he enlisted for Concord. While he's enlisted for Concord, he died in New York, and it was most likely of disease. I shared his information when I found it with Medford Historical Society, and they didn't know who he was. He's in their history book, and they didn't know. So I sent them all my information. I sent it to the National Park Service, and if you all go home and look at the Patriots of Color page for the National Park Service, you can learn more about Samson Yarney. It still existed, as far as I know, when I looked at it. The third Patriot of Color, I literally added him last week after we did our slides, and he's on here, cool, is Aaron Oliver. So Aaron Oliver was born and lived in the part of Concord that later was incorporated as Lincoln, but it was Concord first. He moved to Temple, New Hampshire, served for that town. Private Oliver marched alongside other men from Temple, New Hampshire to Cambridge on the alarm of April 19th, 1775. They heard what happened, and they marched, and they got to Cambridge. He then fought at Bunker Hill, and he then joined the Northern Army in 1776 for 6 weeks, and his final enlistment was in 1777. So Private Oliver fought as part of the successful rear guard in the Battle of Hubbardton, Vermont on July 7th, 1777, but was captured and spent many months as a prisoner of war. He was released from captivity in 1778, but according to family lore, he was so malnourished that he died shortly afterwards from starvation. Descendants of Private Oliver donated some of his possessions to the Hubbardton Battlefield State Historical Site, where they are on permanent display, so we should take a field trip and go. And they're gonna have a 250th, so we should all go to their site as well. So together as a community, we can finally honor these 22 individuals by name in a permanent memorial that will join Concord's and other war memorials in Monument Square. Next slide. So Concord 250 Corporation is a small nonprofit. It helped fund several events for the town's recent 250th anniversary, bringing our community together in celebration. Building on that spirit of unity, the group is now offering to sponsor a long overdue Revolutionary War memorial at no cost to the town to be placed in Monument Square. For us, the perfect location is parcel 1693, an open green space right in Monument Square. This site offers an ideal setting for this new memorial, connecting it to our town's history. Parcel 1693 is steeped in history. On April 19th, 1775, the Redcoats entered Dr. Timothy Minot's house on that parcel of land, marking the beginning of a very dramatic day. Here, Dr. Minot's 71-year-old housekeeper, Martha Moulton, carried chairs outside so Major Pitcairn and 4 or 5 other officers could sit by the door of the house and watch their men in the center of town. This is also where Martha Moulton pleaded with the Redcoats to put out a fire before it spread, literally saving downtown Concord from burning down. And Samuel Melvin left his greatcoat inside before he went off to fight at the North Bridge, and it was taken by the Redcoats. And we know this because he asked to be reimbursed for it, and there's a receipt in the town records. So as the years went on, the land continued to play a vital role in Concord's story. In the 1800s, the Middlesex Hotel was built here and was run for a time by a man named Major Phineas Payne, a Revolutionary War veteran. Concord at the time was a crossroads for travelers, and naturally the hotel became a gathering place for veterans passing through town. Whenever Major Payne discovered he was hosting a fellow veteran, he made sure they were treated to all the hospitality the hotel could offer them. And then it was his custom to send for Major Joseph Hosmer to join them and share in their stories. On more than one occasion, Major Payne's eldest daughter would say, "Father, don't send for Major Hosmer. If you do, they will never go away." No one ever listened, by the way. Someone would always fetch Hosmer, and these veterans of the Revolutionary War would tell stories into the wee hours of the morning, and sometimes if the stories were large, Dr. Ripley and Dr. Cumming also came down. Fast forward to 1900, the Middlesex Hotel was deteriorating. Recognizing the potential of this historic spot, forward-thinking citizens secured this site for the town's future, envisioning it as a place for a municipal building or as a public park, a space that would continue to serve the community. In more recent years, the now dissolved Concord 250 Permanent Memorial Subcommittee saw the promise of parcel 1693 as a site for a new memorial, one that could honor not just our revolutionary roots, but also our ongoing fight for social justice and individual freedom. Fittingly, this very parcel is also home to the marker commemorating Henry David Thoreau's famous night in jail for civil disobedience. Now we have the opportunity to shape the next chapter for this remarkable site. The corporation will invite local artists, landscape designers, and anyone passionate about honoring our past to submit their creative ideas, ensuring the memorial reflects the true spirit of Concord. Once a design is chosen, we will respectfully seek final approval from the Historic Districts Commission, the Planning Board, and the Select Board, making certain that this monument belongs to all of us. Parcel 1693 is large enough to accommodate the thorough marker, the Revolutionary War Memorial, and any other possible future projects. Next slide. This map from the town's GIS website shows where parcel 1693 is in Monument Square. On April 19, 1775, Concord is where ordinary citizens stood together and chose courage over comfort and unity over fear. Concord is more than a place on a map. It is a living, breathing monument to the spirit that forged our nation. Now, as the nation gathers to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our democracy, we have a rare chance to do something extraordinary, to enshrine the names and stories of America's first veterans, men who were free, enslaved, indentured, young, and old. By allowing this monument to rise, we give voice to every sacrifice, and we offer future generations a place to gather in town to reflect on those whose courage won us our liberty. Let us not miss this moment to unite in gratitude and remembrance, ensuring that Concord's legacy continues to inspire everyone. Next slide. So if this article is passed, the Revolutionary War Memorial will be constructed and financed with private funds at no cost to the town. And last slide, I think there's just the article again. Should I read it?
No, you
Are we
don't
good?
need to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Obviously, the presentations at town meeting are
Much
fairly
shorter.
short,
Yeah,
so
no, there's a lot of history.
you'll
You got
get
a
some
history
guidance on
lesson.
that.
Sorry.
I want to point one thing out from a select board perspective. Traditionally, it is the responsibility of the select board to approve any new projects that are in the town's right-of-way or on town property. And we've had at least one select board member ask us to inquire with our legal counsel sort of that our role and responsibility in that. And so I'd like to ask Carrie if she could comment from the outside councils.
Sure, so I did raise that issue with town council, and town council noted that essentially that the select board needs to be the approving authority for placement of a permanent memorial, particularly one that addresses speech on behalf of the town.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. I just thought that was an important observation. It may be relevant to many of the questions we would have. So with that, let me just ask the select board for their comments, questions. Paul?
I have a comment.
So based on that, with the
Go ahead.
language, just quick follow up to that, with the language
Yes.
of the proposed bylaw change, reflecting.
The bylaws right now, I think you're asking about the actual warrant language?
The warrant language.
Right, because it doesn't say select board approval. It says the HDC, I don't know actually what it's.
It says planning board.
It says
HDC
planning
or
board and
planning
HDC,
board.
right?
Right.
Right, so
Would that be an amendment, or would that be a change prior to the
I
town meeting?
think it's something that we're going to have to discuss with
I think it
the
would be an
town
amendment.
moderator. It's probably an amendment, right?
Can I add to that as well?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, I agree that I think that this should be clarified, because I think I think most people, when they read this, they think that if town meeting approves this, the only other approvals are HDC or planning board, and we learned tonight that in fact it's the select board and the town manager that would have to approve this. So I think we need to be transparent with the townspeople when they see this in front of them, and what is the correct way to do that.
So I think we're going to need some more
So, yeah, we
discussion
need
with
some
the
guide-
town moderator around the possible
that a-
rewording of the warrant.
An amendment, or?
Carmen Reese, Town Moderator. You can't change the warrant article, but you certainly can vary slightly the motion that is made under the warrant article. It's my job as the moderator to determine whether any motion made under an article is within the scope of the article as it's printed in the warrant, and that's really an issue of notice. And the proposal here is very clear. It's to design and offer to the town a Revolutionary War monument in a particular location. But it will be subject to necessary permits and approvals. And as it turns out, the select board and the town manager are two of those necessary approvals. And I would have no problem with ruling within scope a motion that included those legal requirements that do exist.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
I have another question.
Oh.
It's going to be a very important memorial in a very visible place. What's the public involvement? If you just read it, there's an authorization and the design and funding, and then there are approvals. Is there interim public consultation, or what's the thought? And I would counsel you to include that somehow in your thinking, presentation.
I think there should, just to add to that, I would want some public forums for input on whatever design is being made, proposed.
Yeah,
I
don't
agree.
know. You should think about it, at least mention it, if not, put it in your slides.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mayor?
I have a question about the funding. This is funded by a private corporation that was set up. Actually, remind me of how this money was collected and what was the intent and what was the purpose, and who has the spending authority? Because I thought it was under the authority of the executive committee appointed by the select board, and I'm wondering, so can you remind me of the history of how this private money became available?
I'm Henry Dane. I am the president of the Concord 250 Corporation, which is a distinct entity from the Town of Concord's 250 Executive Committee, which now is on the verge of being dissolved and becoming inactive. With regard to the financing of events and activities in the town, the 250 Corporation sponsored and paid for many of the events in the Patriots' Day 250th celebration, including the participation of the University of Massachusetts Marching Band, paying for the participation of the high school marching band and its reinstitution, of making it possible for almost 100 scouts to march in the parade, to create and distribute the commemorative coins that have been widely distributed in the town. And so there are a lot of things that this corporation has done to promote the civic welfare of this town. And this is one project that is a remaining piece of unfinished business from the 250th anniversary of the town. And we have raised funds privately to do many of these things the town has not or cannot do on its own. So this is an opportunity. We have financed much of the research that Beth has done to find these 22 Concordians, and it is an important piece of unfinished business for the 250th anniversary of the town to create the one missing monument that commemorates what has put this town on the map, namely the Revolutionary War. And it is a strange omission that this has not been done prior to now, but the reason is we didn't have the names of specific people the way we've had for World War I, World War II, even Grenada, right? right? We have names for those people, and they are on monuments. And all of those monuments, or most of those monuments, have been created or donated with private funds. The Rotary Club, 25 years ago, refurbished the entire World War II monument area. The Rotary Club created the marker to remember Medal of Honor recipient Tom Hudner, a Concord resident. The Rotary Club of Concord in 2016, with private funds and from funds from the CPA, built the Concord, the USS Concord Bell project, which converted an eyesore into a beautiful place for contemplation, and to commemorate the last ship of the line named for the town of Concord, the one that's allegedly fired the last salvo of the Second World War, and from which the bell was saved when the ship was scrapped in 1946 and donated to the town at a ceremony on July 4th at Emerson Field. That bell was in the basement of the library in the townhouse for nearly 50 years before we were able to liberate it and make it into something that was a real gift to the town. So this is what we have done, and this is why we're doing what we're proposing today. The fact that the Select Board needs to approve this is the reason that we're here today. If you will approve this project or support it at the town meeting, I hope that it would mean that you would also support it when we came to the board with a specific design for a project that we would develop in consultation, in an open process, for people in town to participate, and we hope that it could be accomplished in the near future and not be something that would be put off forever because we never had the perfect plan. Thank you.
Mr. Dane, I'm not sure you really answered my question, but I will go on, and I will say that I don't think anyone is doubting that we should honor these men. That's not the point, I think, right now that's contentious about this. And to me, it's the source of the funding, the intention that the funds were raised, and the control of the funds. And also, my other problem I have with this is it going to be the only thing that is on that piece of land, which, as you know, is the last piece of land we have. So I've got some issues with this. So, you don't have to answer it. I'm giving you my concerns. So if you could address those concerns, I would appreciate that.
Well, we specifically, I think, addressed that problem, that issue, because we are not proposing a large and imposing monument. We are deliberately want to do something, first of all, because of budget constraints. We do not have unlimited funds, and we also do not have the intention of occupying or taking over that whole park area, so that this would not preclude other uses for that property. I know that there have been discussions about having a comprehensive plan with planning a park for that area as well as a monument. I think that'd be a wonderful plan, but that would involve a very large amount of money to do that properly. We are trying to do something that will be appropriate, but will be limited to being the monument, and leave the park available for whatever compatible uses that the town might choose to use it for.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Paul, yeah.
You have a question for Beth. As a historian, it probably took a tremendous amount of work to get to 22 names.
Mm-hmm.
How many people actually from Concord fought? I mean, these are the people that fought and died, and typically war memorials up for people who fought and died.
I'm at about 575 names, but I will tell you, as I go through more and more primary sources, I find more people.
Okay.
But
I'm not trying to make this monument more expansive, but, you know, there are 500 plus people.
no, we don't want, no, they did that. So for was it World War II, Nancy? They did all the names at one point, and they did that once here in Concord, and they were like, yeah, never again, because there were so many names.
Okay, this is one shot to honor the people.
It would be wonderful, but just so you know, even this list that we have, the 22 names, I found somebody last week. It's not complete. So one thing that we do have to figure out when we are creating a design, whoever creates it, I'm a historian, not a designer, but we have to figure out how to be able to add names and how much room to leave. So if we had 575 names and I found 25 more, you know, do you add more?
Well, let me continue the thought here.
Go ahead.
So the 22 names you're honoring, but there might be 500 plus people who deserve some kind
easily.
of honor. And then you mentioned at least one woman.
Correct.
There are women, heroines, who kind of protected the town. We know those names as well. So there's another set of people to honor. I'm just.
So you're saying we should do more than one monument?
I'm stating some facts.
I'm okay with more than one monument.
Well, I'm saying maybe the design of the monument or the funding or the research isn't completed yet. And maybe we're just jumping because we have the funding and we have the 22 names for a monument, and when there might be more people, men and women, to honor that fought and defended the town. That's my point. Just it's out there.
Thank you.
Cameron, do you have anything else?
No, just, I'm fine. I think,
So okay, and I had two questions. One was, you don't give any sort of image of what you're even proposing here. You've placarded all the other monuments in town, but we don't really have a clue what you're thinking of, and that's going to be really important to present. The other thing I think is important to recognize is that we had a 250th committee, and there was a subcommittee on the permanent memorial, and I think it's important that you reflect on what those recommendations were, which unfortunately I think they didn't get to consensus on a memorial. They got to consensus on needing to landscape that particular lot and fix some of the infrastructure. I think it's important for the public to understand and put those two initiatives together, if you can. And I know it's not your job, but I think we need to just recognize it was a committee formed that did some work, and how does this fit with those recommendations? So,
yeah, I mean, I think the committee's recommendations was broadly supportive of honoring those folks who did fight, fight for creating our country and who did die in the war. I don't think it specified exactly how or where or to what how that was going to happen.
Right.
But I think that it is correct. Right. Broadly though, that committee is supportive of honoring these citizens.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have paid attention to the work of the Permanent Memorial Subcommittee and the conclusions that they arrived at. And according to at least the article in The Bridge that was published before April 19th, a representative of that committee was quoted as saying, "We would like to do a memorial, but we don't have a plan, we don't have a location, and we don't have any funds. And maybe it might be appropriate to put it someplace in West Concord." All of those things open up the opportunity to do something and, do something in the right place at the right time in the right way. Thank you.
Okay. If there are more comments from the audience, now would be the time to come to the microphone. Sven.
Sven Weber, 50 Belknap, speaking on my own behalf. I have a couple of questions. One, I think more for the town manager. So if someone wants to give the town money and do a project like that, do we need to have a town meeting vote, or can just the select board be approached and then the select board or whoever, what is the process? I'm just wondering if this is needed at all.
The select board has the ability to accept gifts on behalf of the town. You heard a project earlier this evening, the Concord Housing Foundation is donating an addition to the Barrett's Mill Farm that is a similar project as is the Maisie O'Donnell Dive well, and those have both been brought before the Select Board.
Okay, and now I have two questions to the petitioner. Did you bring this up before to the Select Board?
Me personally?
Yeah, or that group,
No,
that
Henry?
corporation. Did you bring this up before to the Select Board to vote on this?
No.
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 So I would say it's normally before the whole town starts to vote, just try to do the normal pass. Second question to you is, what's the budget? What's the dollar amount you're talking about?
The amount of money that we have?
What you give here, yes.
Can I say that, Henry?
Well, you have to vote on this and you should disclose this.
Oh, because our treasurer's over there. I'm not the treasurer. I'm the historian.
Yes.
What, about the money? My question now was the money. How much money are we talking about?
I would say probably 150 to 200,000.
Okay, so I would also appreciate to show design and everything and name the amount of money you're talking about so everyone knows about this. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, next.
Hi, Nancy Frisella Lee.
Yeah, move the microphone.
Nancy Frisella Lee, 140 Walden Street. And just to be open disclosure, I was on the Permanent Memorial, 250 Permanent Memorial Subcommittee, and I'm also part of the group that wants to see this memorial created. And I'm just going to make a few comments. One is about someone asked about women and you know who's going to go on, who deserves to be on the memorial. And this memorial, the way that it's structured, follows along all the history of how all of our 8 memorials have been created. We've had permanent memorials that have created them, they've had meetings about who deserves to be on the memorials and who isn't. I wrote a report about it that I can share with anyone who would be interested. And there were some difficult decisions about that. So, and it's interesting. Women who in every war, whether they were enlisted or not, women contributed to the war efforts of every single war. So that we're following, this memorial is following the tradition of the other memorials. There are other opportunities to honor all the other people in our town who contributed to war efforts. And I just wanted to also remind everyone that in 1900, this land was given for the town to use, for the town's use to enjoy or to put a municipal building on. It's never been used. And what better use can we make of this land than to put this memorial on it? There is lots of land. I was a member of the subcommittee. I highly wanted what they wanted to create too, the ideas that represent, not so much the design. It's a big piece of land. There's space to create and honor all of those things, and I hope that happens. I hope more projects come forward that they can continue that work. But we can't let this go. This money was given. I too, had a question about where that money came from, but the money wasn't used that's sitting in the 250 Corporation, and it should go to a good use. Why should we not take advantage of the money? And I'm hoping that other community members, once we bring this to town meeting, that other people will be enthusiastic about this and want to participate. I would like it to see a whole community-wide effort that everybody can contribute to, not just some wealthy people or few donors. I'm hoping that we can also welcome people to put in a few dollars so that it's a real community project. Let's use the money for this. It's really worthwhile.
Great, thank you. And I'll just reinforce that community project perspective and the public input is going to be really important in your presentation. Yes?
Great, thank you. Tui Rogers, and I am standing co-chair of the Permanent Memorial Subcommittee. I can shed a little bit of light on Mr. Dane's 250 Corporation. Yes, I'm sure it has money, and I'm glad that you use some of that money to support some of the things of the Concord 250th. But there was some confusion from the start when you created that not-for-profit. And I have at least one friend who donated to your corporation, only later to learn that it wasn't donated to the town's benefit, it was donated to your corporation. And she asked to have that money removed. and put into the town's coffers. And that confusion, I think, stays with us, and I think that is why you perhaps have some money, and perhaps why some of the things that should have happened didn't happen with Concord 250 money, because it went into the private corporation. That's just an aside. Beth, I just love hearing you talk history. Your history is so great, and what Beth did to find these names is truly amazing. Your tenacity is unbeatable, and I love the history you talk about. And I think what we're talking about here is the town asked the Concord, created the Concord 250 Executive Committee to address the issues of our 250th celebration. That executive committee created 13 subcommittees: education and history, arts, literature, sales of items, celebration, and the 250th, the Permanent Memorial Subcommittee. Our charge was, pursuant to what the National Parks Service had come down with, finally, after 250 years, is to look at those people whose voices had not been heard. You know, we've had celebrations for 250 years, and this year the Parks Service said, let's focus on that. The town took that focus and gave the executive committee a charge, and that executive committee gave the subcommittees a charge, and we took that charge and we decided to create a memorial that would focus on those people whose voices had not been heard. African and Native Americans, people of color. The World War II monument still does not have Ralph Kinlaw on it. A Chinese American who died, he was a pilot of a B-17, and he died in World War II, and he's still not on that. George Dugan, we knew for 91 years that he should belong on the Civil War Memorial, but because of institutional logic, if you want to call it that, he wasn't put on until just recently, until a few years ago. Whereas the additions that were put on before were other traditional people who were allowed to enlist. So we worked for 3 years to create a memorial. At the time we started, as you know, Beth, you were working furiously assiduously to find these names, but you didn't have the names. So we pursued our mission for about 2.5 years, and we got to the point of what to do with that park. We, in fact, kind of brought parcel 1693 forward. It was sort of not being used, and it was ignored. And your map doesn't show the road that goes down into the parking lot behind Vanderhoof's, which does sort of bisect that space. In the course of our work for the town of Concord, we held 3 public forums in the first 10 months of our service. And in those public forums, and this is in the report that I sent to, that the executive committee, I believe, about a month ago, sent to you, we found several things. One was the people really did not want more granite blocks with names on them, more stones with names on them. The people did want that area, that park, to stay open and reflective. And finally, they very much endorsed the notion that it was time to commemorate all of those people whose voices had not been heard. And that's what we tried to tackle. And whether our memorial was too ambitious or too out there or not is not the point. The point is we identified what should happen there pursuant to what the National Park Service was talking about and the mission, the charge we were given by the executive committee. So I would very much like to see that mission continue there. And I would very much like to see the names you have come up with somewhere in town. But I would like to see that. These names are so, as Henry said, these names are so important to Concord. They're part of our history. They're part of our you know, it's what makes Concord, everyone knows Concord for the battle at the Old North Bridge. The process for placing those names should be a very thoughtful and intentional process. If we've got the money now for something that we can sort of put it in there, I don't think that's how we want to honor those people, honor the names you found. I think we really want to look at it, hold some public forums, as you said, I think, Wendy, get people involved with this core group of names. And I think it would do you a better service, Beth, for all the work you did, for people to really decide where should those names go. In the little pocket park on the side, which is, you know, fine, could be there. Over by the Minuteman, could be there. Where should it go? And what should it look like? I think that's a very important thing. Before we put a memorial there, what's it going to look like? My concern is if it goes to the corporation, the people won't have any say about that. And I think it would be great to have this process, and Henry, you could donate the corporation's money to the town, as you're saying, and let the town run this project with public forums and all of that. Your history is great, Beth, and none of that controverts what I'm saying. It's all a part of it. And the names should be displayed in town. They're so important. But let's make it a process that we can all understand and follow.
So I guess the recommendation is, again, talk about the process as you're presenting this article, and invite the public and others in this. I mean, this article, we are tonight talking about the proposal at hand, so we need to stay focused on that. So I think let's try to infuse that into the process that you're proposing.
Did you get our report, by the way?
We'll pass it, yeah, we did. We'll pass it, make sure that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Do you have time for one more?
We do have time for one more.
I've been involved with this project for that parcel for a long time.
But I just remind you that this
Dennis
is
Fiore, 309 Strawberry Hill Road.
that, and then also, this is not the opportunity to debate the merits of the project. Let's just stick to questions to help
that's what I'm
improve the
going to talk
presentation. Thanks, I didn't get to say that
The
before.
questions are asked about the money. The money's been raised. Why don't we spend it on the 250th?
Yeah.
And we as a group, because the questions asked about this, unheard voices about social justice, we've been in favor of that from the very beginning. We just didn't like glass towers. And so we came up with other proposals, which they didn't seem to like. So this is not an idea that we want one and not the other. Plenty of room to have the other piece there. We just think this is an appropriate place in Monument Square to do this memorial. We have the funds. Let's move ahead with it.
So probably the idea is, if that's what you're saying, then make sure that you put that in your presentation as well, because that's obviously top of mind for people.
Sounds like an excellent debate for town meeting.
Yeah,
Right, no, but address these issues in your presentation, because you know they're going to come up. So, all right, in the interest of time, we need to move on to the next article. This is our last article. It's article number 42, and it's the proposed composting ratepayer plan. And this is Ileana?
Hello, my name
Michelle?
is Ileana Benson. I attend Concord Carlisle High School, and I'm representing the Sunrise Club and proposing this article. If you go to the next slide, please. Oh, sorry. The article is to urge the town to adopt and negotiate a ratepayer composting plan for households and commercial buildings through a pre-existing organic waste disposal company, or act on anything relative thereto. And then if you'd go to the next slide, please. Thank you. First, I'm going to talk about the environmental impact of composting. Currently, landfills lack the oxygen that compostable items need to fully decompose. This causes increased methane gas emissions, which is 84 times more likely at absorbing the sun's heat than CO2, making one of the most potent greenhouse gases and a huge contributor to climate change. By putting biodegradable items into the compost instead of the trash, huge amount of waste can avoid the landfill. Another factor to consider is that Massachusetts also uses incinerators for waste disposal, and the carbon dioxide generated from the approximately 2,970,000 tons of waste combusted in just 2024 is absolutely astronomical. Can you go to the next slide, please? What is a ratepayer system? We are proposing a ratepayer system where citizens can opt into the plan, same as recycling and trash through the town website. We are asking the town to consider negotiating with composting company vendors so that the entire town has lower rates to pay compared to subscribing to composting as a singular individual household or commercial site. The composting company would have pre-existing infrastructure and resources to deal with the compost. Essentially, we would be outsourcing the composting process, but making it easier to access for the entire community. Next slide, please. How it fits into the Climate Action and Resilience Plan. Sustainable Concord is a plan designed to prioritize actionable solutions for both reducing greenhouse gas emissions while improving our community's resilience to the impacts of climate change. The current average household organic waste generation is 8 pounds per week. Without composting, this is the equivalent of creating 4,298 tons of CO2 per year. A direct and actionable way to lessen the impact of greenhouse gas emissions is to compost and directly avoid this 4,298 tons of carbon dioxide. One of the priority actions in the Climate Action and Resilience Plan is to create opportunities for townwide composting to increase the waste diversion rate by 30%. Next slide, please. The final 2030 Solid Waste Master Plan by Mass DEP states that some of their goals is to reduce disposal statewide by 30% from 5.7 million tons in 2018 to 4 million tons in 2030 over the next decade. Long-term goal of achieving a 90% reduction in disposal from 570,000 tons by 2050. Mass DEP is expanding its waste disposal bans by lowering the threshold on commercial organic and food waste to facilitate to facilities generating more than half a ton of these materials per week. Massachusetts is projected to close all in-state landfill sites by 2030 as well. Separate food waste disposal needs to be incorporated into the town's waste management plan in consideration of future monetary and environmental costs. Next slide, please. Continued the final 2030 solid waste master plan. Commercial organic waste over half a ton a week must switch to composting or alternate plans by 2030. This means that nearly all of the restaurants in Concord will be using composting, if they are not already. If the town does a ratepayer system, it allows the town to help local businesses financially, later on I'll explain the Bedford example, and support them in going green. Also, commercial waste over half ton per week was actually banned effective November 1st, 2022. And Mass DEP is considering implementing a 100% ban by 2028. That means that nearly all nearly all the restaurants in Concord will be using composting if they're not already. Again, this allows the town to help local businesses financially and support them in going green a lot. Next slide, please. Statewide, this is from the Mass DEP Recycling IQ case study report. Statewide, 89 municipalities in Massachusetts have a residential food waste collection program. In 2023, these municipalities reported diverting over 20,000 tons of food scraps from the waste stream. Curbside food waste collection programs are growing in Massachusetts. 12 communities have a supported curbside program where residents put their food scraps in a separate bin to be picked up curbside along with their trash or by a separate hauler. Some support these programs by providing free curbside waste containers or kitchen counter bins or fully fund the program. Next slide, please. Mass DEP's Sustainable Materials Recovery Plan, SMRP, has awarded $350K in grants to municipalities over the past 10 years to start or expand upon their own curbside collection program or residential food waste diversion programs. They can use grant funds to purchase residential curbside food waste carts or kitchen counter food scrap bins or help with outreach and education. Mass DEP manages statewide contract to FAC 113, which includes recycling containers, compost bins, and rain barrels. curbside wheeled carts for organic and food waste material, kitchen counter buckets, and backyard compost bins. Municipalities can procure items directly from this contract without bidding publicly as well. Next slide, please. This is an analysis of what nearby towns are doing. So as you can see, Newton currently has curbside composting, a drop-off program, and received grants for both of these. Watertown has curbside composting available, a drop-off program, and they have not mentioned on the town website whether they received grants, so it is likely. Lexington has curbside composting available, drop-off program, and they also have a composting facility in town. Bedford has a curbside composting drop-off program and has received grants for sure. Next slide, please. This is about Bedford's example. We talked with the Aunt Tavika, I may be mispronouncing her name, the DPW business manager there. The townwide program there is a public-private partnership where a resident signs up on Black Earth's website for service. Once registration is received, DPW receives a confirmation email and we deliver the starter kit. Black Earth then handles all the customer service functions, including missed pickups, with the exception of cart maintenance, which DPW manages directly. Residents call them for broken bins. Next slide, please. For Bedford, their contract with Black Earth was procured through an open competitive request for proposals, or RFP. As the business manager mentioned at a meeting, the primary benefit was that the rates cannot increase during the life of the contract, or their density discount threshold is also held firm. The contract itself only obligates the town to provide the starter kit, which is about $47 per household in Bedford's case, before grant reimbursement, after which it was $0. The utility credit is a unique feature to their program. Because of their grant funding provides $10 in startup costs, we elected to apply those directly to the water bills of participating residents. Essentially, residents got $10 back in their startup costs because of the grants, and so it was actually extremely cost effective for the residents. Next slide, please. Here are a list of potential resources needed from the town. In Arlington, this is yet another town who already has curbside composting. You pick up a starter kit from Town Hall, which saves the resources from delivery. If you decide to approve this, you may require a place to keep supplies and volunteers for handing them out monthly, or another option, you can request a composting company to handle the handing out starter kits. Another potential resource is to organize a request for proposals from composting companies or negotiate a contract with a composting company regarding terms for a ratepayer system in Concord. Additionally, we recognize that Concord Public Works has many ongoing projects and are extremely grateful to the work already being done to protect the environment. We believe that this can be undertaken with minimal resources supplied and have a huge impact on doing everything we can to help the environment. Next slide, please. Here's a list of potential composting vendors. Black Earth has already shown that they have the infrastructure and high interest in expanding. They have already expanded to Bedford, Arlington, Watertown, and many other towns in Massachusetts. Other potential vendors are City Compost and Sarah Cooperative, which is commercial only as well. Next slide, please. There are many grants available to apply for. The SMRP municipal grants has offering various grants this spring intended to support local recycling, composting, reuse, or related programs. These grants are listed on the next slide, and there are also other ones available through other avenues. Next slide, please. Here are just some of them available. There's one for drop-off equipment, which I believe that might be similar to the one Bedford receives. Food waste collection carts, pay-as-you-throw program funds, and recycling dividends program. The last two may be related to recycling. Next slide, please. They also have regional small-scale initiatives, waste reduction and organics capacity / permanent HHW facility project proposals. And then there's a link right there just on additional grants available. And then the main question is there demand for this? There is a lot of demand for this. We have already, just by hearing from people around the school, around the town, our neighbors, the demand is there. But how do we spread the word that this would be available and that we want people to sign up? Options include flyers, canvassing, or going door to door, which would be done by volunteers, and of course, our Sunrise Club would be available. It being shown on the town website page. Word of mouth by neighbors is definitely one of the best ways. The Bedford group especially promoted it. And then finally, ask for support from local climate organizations to spread the word through their monthly newsletters or other initiatives they have similar to that. And finally, next slide, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You have a lot of slides. Another reminder, you're going to have about probably, I don't even, moderator will tell how much time, but you're going to have to get the presentation down quite a bit. I would recommend for some of those slides that have a lot of words, put them into some bullet format, and some of the later slides probably put into an appendix for reference, but don't need to cover all those. And I guess I just want to comment, we did get a notice that the Public Works Department will be reviewing the implications of this type of program at their March 11th meeting. March 11th, yes.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
So there'll be more to follow for that. And I guess the question I have is that there is a lot of demand in town for black earth. I see black earth all over the place already. So one of the things that you might want to consider is calling Black Earth and finding out exactly how many existing Concord residents have Black Earth, and even speaking to the other towns about what percentage of their residents, because that's going to put a lot of weight to your proposal. And I'll stop there and I'll let other board members. I'll let Mary go because I let Paul speak every other time.
Thank you for this. Thank you. I'm really glad that you're bringing more awareness to composting. I've been composting for years, but I know some people still need to be converted into composting. You've obviously done a lot of research, so thank you for that. I think, given that you're going to have a time constraint, you've really got to focus down on what you want people to hear at town meeting. And I guess my question would be, what exactly are you asking DPW to do? Is it to call, well, because I see you've got like Arlington and Bedford does this, and so what exactly, is it to just do billing or to get some kind of a volume discount? Or so that's for you to answer. So that would be like really clear what you're asking for. Who's going to pay for that? So if the town's if the town's going to do extra effort, who's going to pay for that? These are just suggestions.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer me now.
Can I just go into the research
Go
we've
ahead,
already done
go
this?
ahead.
Yeah.
You can
so
answer now.
Basically, we've already there are a lot of grants available, which I already listed in another slide. And then what Bedford does is they basically have the grants, and they have enough left over from the grants to give $10 back to individual households who sign up for it. So I believe that there's enough money available through the grants. And then as well as for the other thing you mentioned, I believe what we're asking, the language of the article is to urge the town to adopt and negotiate, as you know, but what we are hoping the town to do is to highly consider it, and to, under the language of the article, of course, is to highly consider it, develop a cost benefits analysis, and then hopefully if that cost benefits analysis it goes well, then to have to negotiate it with the ratepayer composting plan. So basically, yeah, we call up Black Earth, as you said, and just like see. I believe what Bedford did was they had a RPF, or a request for proposals, open to any contractors such as Black Earth, Sarah Composting, and other composting companies, and whichever has the best offer, that would be what the town would take.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to thank you for the presentation. The environmental argument for composting is really strong, and your scientific analysis is really good. My question is why? I mean, why should the town get involved in this? As Wendy mentioned, Black Earth, you see green containers all over town. There are a lot of people who are doing this now. A public education process may get more people on board, but what's the advantage of the town managing and running the program as opposed to just advocating more people Is it a cost issue?
Yeah, so definitely cost is a huge part of it because what we want to do is make composting more readily available to all residents and not simply those who have to go out of their way to go find it, register through, and have do it through as a private household. What we were hoping for is if it's not quite if it's offered by the town, it's more available, it's more accessible for more people to sign up for. So yeah, that's our main goal.
But why is it more available? Right now you can just sign up and it's $15 a month. Is the advantage, is it making more available cheaper? Is that the argument?
It's cheaper, and
do we know what the other towns pay per person? I mean,
that
would be the key part of this, to say this, by having a town run, you could cut your cost by 30%. An individual.
Yeah, I believe we can't really get those statistics without the town negotiating with Black Earth, but we can definitely get statistics for other towns to say, for example, I think we do have a few from Bedford. We can get examples from other towns.
I think getting that chart, including some data on the chart, that would be a selling point, if, as opposed, because people will sit there and say, I can do that now, why get the town involved? Thank you.
Right. Cameron, any comments?
Yeah, just on the chart with the check marks, I think you might consider, it's not clear to me what Concord does. It sounds like we do nothing. Is that?
We don't.
We used to have a pilot curbside program, but that ended, I believe, in June, so it's no longer available. Sorry, it wasn't curbside. It was a pilot drop-off program at 2 locations, but then it ended.
Yeah, you just might want to know what Concord does. It shows that it doesn't do any of this, or that curbside's available, paying through a separate, through a private service.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's private.
Yeah, private contract.
To show the comparison.
All
Great,
right.
thanks.
Okay, great. So, going to move to the audience question. The microphone.
Hi, Cynthia Katz, 20 Conant Street. I think this is great, and I was part of that town pilot project, the drop-off food waste project. And I was really hoping that the town was going to see how successful that was and was going to initiate a town curbside pickup project, which they didn't do. And so we went to Black Earth. Is that the one? Yeah. Which is great, but other towns do offer yard waste pickup as part of their taxes and food waste pickup as part of their taxes. I think that this is a great idea, and I'd love to have it be part of the town pickup rather than having to contract with Black Earth myself.
Okay. All right.
Hi,
Hello.
Andrea Solomon. I'm speaking for myself, but with a little bit of background information. Concord has an enterprise fund that handles waste management. So all the fees that go into that fund are what pay for the collection of the waste and recycling. Most of the other towns that have been brought up as examples here are tax-based. They are funded by taxes. That our system is completely different. So right there, that's a big difference. And those also tend to be opt-out programs where everyone is signed up and you opt out of it. Ours is an opt-in program. So the fees not only cover the cost of the contract that we have with waste management, it covers the cost that we pay to our staff to manage that contract and the customer complaints and everything else that goes with it. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're comparing rates and programs, if it's supported by taxes or not supported by taxes. Ours is not supported by taxes, and the proposal put in front of the town meeting does not account for any funding or switching of the tax base.
Sorry, can I just add on to that? So basically, our proposal doesn't really cover that because what we're hoping to do is to urge the town to adopt or negotiate it, and we're also hoping for them to urge them to consider it and to create a plan for implementing it. We have spoken with Public Works. They did mention, as you said, the enterprise fund. We believe that would probably take another town meeting and another warrant article in order to establish another enterprise fund if needed for the composting, separately for composting. But what's on our minds at the moment is simply getting the town to make a cost benefits analysis and seriously consider taking this on as a project and to simply get them to see the demand for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the information in your presentation is eye-opening, and so I hope people pay attention, and maybe that will get people more involved, at least at doing it on their own if the town can't have that program for them. But it was really great information, especially the closing of the landfills. That's a
Yeah,
really big deal.
that was surprising,
Yeah.
actually. I didn't know about that.
Thank you.
Charlie Parker, 105 Chestnut Street. This is sort of a favorite topic for me, so sorry about taking up some of your time here. But I think, Paul, you asked the question, why should we do this? You know, I think we should get a little bit more aggressive about this, and we should, the target, the goal should be to remove all compostable waste from the waste stream that goes into those cans. We've got these garbage cans. They should not have any of this waste in it. It should be removed entirely, and it should go out either through black earth or through some other means. I think that the waste stuff that we put in those cans, you know, should not include stuff that, you know, is inappropriate. And these materials should not be thrown out with regular garbage, period. And I believe that this probably is done in other communities where it's basically illegal to put that stuff in there. I you know, don't know why we don't do that. I think we've got things backward here. So, thanks.
Since you're looking right at me, the eye when you said that.
Answer.
My comment was more on the means, not to the end.
Pardon me?
My comment was more on the means to get to that point, whether the town should take that on or individuals should take that on because they're educated. I mean, I don't know how many people in town are composting right now.
I wasn't picking on you.
But a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think so, but I think you know, if you get at the objective, the reason should be to clean up the waste stream entirely and make it kind of a mandatory thing. Everybody should do it.
All right,
I don't see
we're off
why we
topic.
wouldn't.
That's what the article should say.
All right, yes. All right, Carmen.
Carmen Reese, 52 Devon Street. I'm also the town moderator. I will be really delighted to work with you on your presentation. So you send me an email and we can sit down. And you've done a great job pulling all this stuff together, so we can work on it. One interesting question, I think, for the cost-benefit analysis, and I hesitate to suggest that you gather any more information, but I've always wondered what impact the biological oxygen demand in our wastewater treatment system that's created by food put down garbage disposals is. Yeah. And I bet you that every house that's connected to the wastewater treatment plant here in Concord has a garbage disposal. So I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
I have. Yeah, I do.
Oh, so
Mary?
Mary?
Can I just add a comment to that? That was a really great suggestion. The other point where we're doing the cost benefit is apparently the waste that we collect now, a lot of it, you know, there's compostable material in that. So if we could remove that, it would maybe lower the tipping fees that we pay. So there is a cost benefit analysis that should be done here. So I just want to, and there's lots of good ideas that should be included.
Great. All right.
Hi, my name is Shirley Curlin. I've been helping out with this a little bit, but they're spearheading the effort with the Sunrise Club. So I just wanted to mention that there are around 600 curbside subscribers in town. So we have around 5,700 folks who qualify for curbside garbage and recycling pickup. So that's around 10% of our residents who would otherwise qualify for garbage and recycling pickup, who are composting on their own, to answer that question. And the other thing I wanted to mention is in 2 years, our town greenhouse gas inventory is due. And on the inventory that was done 8 years ago, the previous decade had resulted in a 24% increase in emissions from waste. And we haven't done a lot to move the needle since then.
That's a really good number to put in.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The 600 users versus 5,700
Yeah.
potentially users. To put that
Rich
in.
Feely, 347 Lexington Road. Very quickly, great presentation, great idea, but the number that would sell this at town meeting is if you could compare the Black Earth subscription cost to the average per household cost that Black Earth charges in Bedford. And if that's substantially lower, I think that would interest a lot of people.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other towns also. Right, all of them. All right, I am not seeing any questions in the audience, and I don't see any remote users. So I think we are done with our presentations and reviews.
So I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing.
Yes, yes. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're closing the hearing, and we are
Yes.
done. Thank you.
You're the closer.
Oh, yeah.